Hello and welcome to episode 239 of the FReality podcast. Today's a special show as we trundle towards winter and a festive season full of VR. It's going to be a busier season than we've had for many years. Here's a quick peek of what's to come. Lesson number 1. Never take a trip to the beach when Valve is monitoring your every move. Number 2. Putting a pH-fat headset on was never stylish. But your eyes know what's good for you. Just watch me retinene. Apple know-it-alls are getting itchy and ready to pounce all over your 2024. If you're still yearning for a pet game, like a few of us, it's not long left to wait. Cuteness rolled in a fuzzy red carpet is coming in Q1. Finally, if you're sick of those annoying drone pilots, Palmer's got your back. Just install a special type of Christmas tree and blammo. Amazon delivery drone down. I repeat, Plebicis is down. Once we clear the scene of debris, Jose is going to break dance live in a special tribal expose to christen his new microphone, and might even add a few releases that you want to consider. So, friends, VR family, let's get intros done. And since it's December already, let's do it a little bit differently. I see we keep flickering out. We've changed platforms, and we're having a few visual issues, which you won't see you won't hear.
Trying to fix
the audio
it.
podcast. So let Rowdy do his fun stuff. Don't worry, Rowdy. We got Jose up first. So here we go. We know it's all tough love, and Adam gets a lot of heat from me in this intro section. But let's flip the tables today with a question. Thinking back, Jose, if that really is your real name, what is one mean thing you did as a kid that you'd like to share with the group to open today's show?
Oh man,
Or a mean thing you did as a kid. First thing that comes to mind is good.
I don't know why, but when you asked me that, it was like a ripped open wound of memories just ripped open, because I was not a good kid. I was not a good kid. I would say I would not mention one person specifically. Let's just mention the whole classroom. I love attention. I love talking, as you guys can tell. So I was that kid in school. So I legitimately traumatized my middle school teacher to the point that she would have like reflexes and actions that were like being triggered, and her first reaction was saying Jose. That's how bad it got. Wow. I had this. And I'll give you guys a quick little story. I had this obsession with being funny. I wanted to be a comedian and all that growing up. Yeah. And I had these busted sneakers where at the heels, you could see my socks that opened up like a puppet. And I found it so funny having ripped sneakers that I could just, put my hand inside my sneaker and pull out my sock without taking out my shoes. And I found it so funny. I would show this to all my friends in middle school. And it got to the point where people knew me as like the sock guy. Ripping the socks, and the teacher started, I remember having a teacher come to me in school and they were like, Jose, like, why are your sneakers ripped? Like, are you having some financial problems? And I realized at that moment that my sneaker hustle, my shtick was about to be taken away. So I went in defensive mode. I said, yeah, it's been really tough for my parents and they can't afford new sneakers. Little did the teacher know that I had a brand new pair of sneakers in the book bag. It was just, this was my sneaker, and that was a little story about me.
Wow, I love it. It's really great to hear the insight, and you took me back to. I shouldn't go into my side now, but man, I was known for socks too, but for a different reason. It was because that sounds wrong. But,
that's what you meant. What else could it mean?
Someone clip that.
Those sock puppets. I was just being annoying and weird.
That's amazing. That's amazing. If there's any photos out there, I'm so keen on seeing a photo of this from back in the day. Dude, that's amazing. All right, well let's come to your highlights and stuff then. What have you been up to? Good. And thanks for answering my awkward question of the day.
Busy man. We're last week all focused on ITSec, the military and simulation or public sector. They don't like using the word military, but it's 100% defense focused. Immersive technology summit.
Just
right?
call them how you called them before the podcast
the
started.
Pew pew people. Yeah. Yeah, I got to see some really cool stuff from Anduril and all these companies that Palmer's announcement. Got to see a really cool. Honestly, my highlight is this company called OpenX. Try OpenX. It is a modernization infrastructure, right? A lot of people don't realize that the public sector is, fortunately and unfortunately, the arbiters of, like, let's say, industry growth when it comes to like workforce and employment and all that stuff. So being able to see this platform that was tackling, like, they call it modernization, which is like infrastructure for education for jobs that don't have the educational circuit just yet, like robotics and machinery and autonomous conductions. And there's a lot of trades there, but we're talking about actual labor, right? So people who are going to be using these robots to manufacture vehicles, and there's still a lot of training that's required. So this company's using pretty much like they call it, the classic YouTube to training pipeline, and they're using that at scale. So they're using AI, looking at how people are learning and metrics, and it's pretty much education where the teacher is yourself, and it's really cool to see that. And then honestly, that's really why I go there for.
That's OpenX is the company.
OpenX, yeah. So try
OpenX.
OpenX is their handle on everywhere, but it's super cool to see the conversations that people are talking about, future generational work, and it's, once again, it's so cool seeing all the old school jobs kind of coming back, and but like with a brand new polish, right? Like they're not just going to be called plumbers, they're going to be called like aquatic, conduction, blah blah blah, and yeah, right. It's
I the educational side, or how people train themselves or self-educate, is really interesting to me. I mean, we educate our kids, right? So we don't have them in the standard school system. And so it's interesting when you have like non-linear training lessons that crop up through life like all the time. Like teaching the kids about how like the Quest 3 or robot vacuums, track with a combination of LiDAR and infrared lights, and being able to show that off on a camera, and like give a kid an infrared torch and then show through a security camera or something. Like they're lighting the room up, but they can't see it, and they're like baffled at this idea of like, what's going on? Am I hunting ghosts? So that idea. Yeah. And I think I hit it only a few times, like after having gone through the normal school system at a university and stuff. There were just moments in my engineering degree where you'd hit something and you'd go like, you're like, whoa, I have a real thirst for knowledge, like all of a sudden. And you want to just like burrow into that subject, and like learning is fun, I suppose, is the short thing. So what you're talking about there is like, it's just so nice to see where that's going with the world, particularly with the internet, and how people take advantage of that. And I think that VR is great for it.
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic.
And just to talk about the psychology of learning itself, I think is super interesting, because for a lot of people, like learning is often boring. Going to school is boring. My mother was a Montessori teacher. I don't know if you're familiar with the Montessori way of teaching, but there's also where so you have children who are actually trying to figure out more for themselves what they want to learn, instead of like forcing them through a specific school system. You still go through like all of the different aspects, but children learn a little bit more from like the specific packages. It's really focused. It's more child focused than it is institutional focused, which I think is really interesting. And they often embrace. They're very, very expensive schools often because they're like sort of like there's less children per teacher, and children are far more like trained independently. But what I notice a lot from those kind of people is that they learn to study on their own far better, and those schools often embrace technology much faster as well. I remember that when my mother was teaching, they were one of the first school to have one of those smart boards, where you could like draw things on. The children found that amazing, of course, because anything technology is super cool. So I imagine that, of course, she's retired now, so I don't know what they're doing now, but I imagine that they would probably embracing these kind of VR technologies as well to bring them into the classroom. And having those kind of things in a classroom is so interesting for kids, just not to just learn about history, but to see it happen in front of you, or like to learn about biology rather than to like, see it in front of you happening. Those kind of things are very strong. Like we're very visual, organisms.
Magic school bus.
Yeah.
Or magic school bus world.
I think that's
actually,
super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and also the one thing that a lot of people often and Zim, I bet you can definitely add to this, right? A lot of parents that that decide to teach your kids, there's also a lot of biases that they're trying to avoid from schools and educational circuits, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of empathy and ethics that just unfortunately are not being taught in schools anymore. So by you being able to trust actual valuable knowledge, right, like trade skills, and then having the parent and the empathy or the emotional skilled people that are teaching the parenting, rather, it's really cool that there's now like technical tools, right, rather than just everything, because that really was my personal fear of homeschooling and education, is that I felt like they were going to try to teach everything, and OpenX was just like, hey, we're focused now on labor, infrastructure, actual skills, and then it works as a parity to the traditional education, which is I like that approach a lot.
I really love it. So thanks, Rowdy, for kind of explaining and actually incenting me to go learn more about Montessori schools, because I've heard about them for years, and I've never expanded on that. I didn't understand what they were. I always thought it was like a Catholic sect school or something. I don't know.
Montessori was a I think she was a professor. Is a woman who was very against the traditional schooling system, and she was much more like, it needs to be child focused rather than like, because there's this saying that says like, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid, right? Because you focus so much on like a certain aspect. If you only care about climbing a tree, then, if you're a fish, you're kind of fucked, but you can swim really well. You can swim really well.
You almost made me cry. That was actually one of my mentors when I started my company, told me exactly that, because imposter syndrome is a real thing, right? And it's exactly, you start judging yourself based on other metrics when you should definitely see the bigger picture.
So letting children explore their own strengths, whether that is math or language, and then focus more on those. Of course, they will still have to do the math and this and that, but they can, for example, spend more time on the things where they're strong in, or sometimes spend more time on the thing that they haven't developed that strongly in yet. But like, it's more focus on what the child wants to do, and you pick like boxes, and the tests and the way that they learn is very cool, because it's very interactive, and it's like very focused on like that the teacher is not a teacher, but it's a guide. They're not allowed to call themselves teachers either. It's more like you need to guide the child.
I want this. Let's go back to school, guys.
I'm telling you, it's a fantastic school system.
That's it. We're done. Let's run this roller coaster again. Actually, I do think, and this is a little insight about me. Like my personal view of if there's like a heaven essentially, or some kind of like an afterlife type thing, is just that you get to run the same ride again. Like just do the life over with a different choice.
New
or
Game
whatever.
Plus.
Yeah. New Game Plus. Yeah, exactly. New Game Plus.
Let's go.
I thought it'd be really awesome. Anyway, yeah. So thank you so much for taking us down the education route, Jose, because that's just wonderful. And we don't hit on it that much. We're very much a game-focused podcast, but man, it is absolutely a future. VR and MR are going to enhance it enormously. And before long, I think that being able to self-educate and also without bias will be really important for the future. And I think we'll see a little bit of over time. My personal view is that it'll disintegrate the kind of standardized school system to some extent, and more like what Rowdy described will become more commonplace. With that, all right, let's go. So, next up, it's Mr. Science Magazine 2018. He's matured a bit since then. His features are more refined. But Rowdy, what would you say is your favorite memory about Belgium from when you were a teenager?
Oof. I think definitely with the friends, right? When you go out with people, I think my most precious memory is like we all had no money and we grew up in a small village town, and we would just like do all kinds of crazy stuff. So we would still go to like festivals, but like we made it like kind of like a sport on like trying to get into festivals. So we would like try to like climb fences and this and that, and we really did. I mean, we did crazy. I mean, I don't know if I should mention all of it because, we've been chased quite a bit, like as a group of friends. And we even
go on.
At a certain point, we were even approached by a person who was doing like, this like, MTV TV shows, not MTV, but then more Belgium kind of thing. kind of do something about us trying to get into these kind of things. I mean, we did everything from like we would make like bracelets ourselves using, you know, I had like I remember that still. Yeah, we had like an old bed sheet that I would like rip apart and then paste it on a piece of paper. And then I would like go to a festival and ask people to take pictures of their bracelets, right? So I would then like take pictures of the bracelet, and then we would go back home and we would like, you know, cut parts out, this and that, and we would like bring it back together, and then we put like on a regular like A4 standard letter printer, we would like put the sheet with the mattress thing or with the blanket thing on. And then we would just print it out, and we bought these like little iron clips in the store. And then you know where you go to festivals, they like clip, and then all those end clips are there. So we would took the end clips, so the end clips look real. They were real.
Combine them?
And we would just combine them and like attach them to the thing that we had.
Such a smart fucking lad, this guy.
And then we went there and they just checked, they pull on the iron lid to see if it's proper. And I mean, I saved thousands of dollars to it.
Wow.
Yeah.
The President's days are now lining up for me, Rowdy. I'm seeing it.
Yeah. And but before that, but when we weren't that smart, we would literally go to festivals with like, you know, a backpack with like tools, like, you know, scissors and like garden scissors, like this and that. And we would like cut through fences and stuff like that.
Jesus.
And I remember this one time we were doing that. It was me and a buddy of mine, and we were on the VIP parking lot. That's how we got in. And we pulled out we had like yellow fluo jackets. So we put those on because the more obvious it looks that you're there, the less they suspect that you tried to do something that you're not supposed to, right? So it's just like fluo jackets. We were like walking on the parking lot, and we're trying to figure out how do we get, you know, from the VIP parking lot, how do we get into the place? And we encountered this group of people who was there, and they were like asking us like, oh, where is the entrance, this and that, blah, blah. And we were just saying, yeah, you know, you need to go straight and to the right, isn't that, blah blah. And they move on, they're a little bit further, and my buddy of mine, he jumps the fence, and he goes lay in the ditch, and he wants to like, because we saw these like, you know, just little toilets, or you like, and you could like squeeze through them. So we were gonna do that. So yeah, you already lay down, and I want to move and jump over the fence, but I see that group turn back. I was like, fuck no, what am I gonna do? So I'm standing there, and the group is like walking towards me, and they're saying, yeah, we just walked over there. There's nothing there. Like we don't see anything. And I was like, oh, no, you just need to walk further. And he looks at me and it's like, where's your friend? And I'm like, damn. He just went to the toilet. You know, he's in the back there. And he's like, why is he laying in the ditch there?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I looked over and he was laying he was laying with his face in the mud, like in the grass, in the one spot where like the light was still shining. Like, he was just like, and I just see it and I start laughing. And the guy says to me, "Don't worry, man, we're doing the same thing."
Trusting any parking attendant anymore.
You guys can go first. You guys can go first, and we'll go after you. I said, okay, that's fine. And they walk off again, and we walk, and the security guard is like coming, and we start like running. We run for the toilets, and this I never forget this because we want to like squeeze through, but it's just my friend was a little bit more hench than I am, and I was behind him. It's like move, but he couldn't go through.
Big mistake. Never put the big guy first.
He starts to push the toilet, but there was someone in there.
Oh no.
And he starts pushing it. And you hear this girl saying, guys, this isn't funny. Stop it. Like, stop it. And he starts pushing it. And the thing, like, I mean, it didn't fall over, but it was swaying left and right. And I just like burst out laughing again. Security is coming over. We eventually squeezed through. We're at the festival. And I mean, I've up to this date, I've wondered like what that girl must have been thinking, or what kind of argument that she was with her friends afterwards. That's like, this is not funny, you know. I was on the toilet. Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Admit it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we did crazy stuff back then.
That's some good vicarious living right there, Rowdy. That's amazing.
Seriously.
So what were you were why I missed the point. Like why was the girls' toilet getting pushed? Was it because you're trying to squeeze?
Yeah,
through
we were trying to squeeze through because those toilets were like kind of part of the fence, I would guess.
Or the
like,
barrier.
Yeah. That security has gotten way more tighter now, though. We tried it with the QR codes as well. That we would try to copy the R fits, That was hard though. It was easier just to jump the fence. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. Well, thank you very much again. You've answered the question of the day there. So, any highlights from the last 2 weeks?
I bought Cyberpunk.
Killer.
Hey.
Yeah, I finally committed. I saw it was like 60% off or something like that. So I was like, I'm going to give it a shot. I tried to turn all the settings to maximum, but apparently they added like a bunch of stuff. Like that my computer can't handle that anymore. I got I think a 2080 Ti, and no way. But yeah, it's perfect. It's such a great game. Like I have a lot of fun with it. I haven't played it that much, like a couple of hours. But yeah, it's like I'm playing a movie, and I mean I love that in VR. You know, like being part of that movie. And I think they're doing a great job with that as well. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, especially now that everything has been kind of fixed. You know, like they had a lot of issues.
It's
in
the best
beginning.
time. Like this is the best time to purchase something like Cyberpunk because you've waited long enough that they fixed all the major bugs, so all of the woes will be out of it. You can get decent performance on a decent rig, and then it's kind of just you're getting it for cheap as well, right? So
yeah,
great. I try to do that with a lot of games. Cyberpunk is on my list, so I will be asking you tips at some point. But that's probably another year off or so for me. I want to wait until it's VRable on my rig, and I think my rig is not. I'm similar to you in terms of spec. It's like i7 2080 Super. So very cool.
That's it.
That's awesome. Well, Cyberpunk is a great starter there. I hope others have picked that up in the sale as well. Some of you using VR mods and the like. I've been speaking to some people. Okay, let's move over then. And finally, it's over to Adam. You're a big softie when it comes to the holidays. All that decorating, cosplaying a bit from time to time, and of course, wrestling for the TV remote when there's this Christmas special coming on. What is your favorite holiday memory that you can recall here on the spot? Just to open up for us. Maybe from when you were a bit younger, from your youth as well, given I've said that for Jose as well. You can define that however you like.
Yeah. So on my mom's side, that's the bigger side of my family. That's the Asian side. They're Filipino, Japanese. My mom has like 6 sisters and 2 brothers, and they all have kids, and now some of their kids have kids. So I mean, not then, but just thinking back, most of them then lived in Hawaii. So sometimes we would go to my grandma's house for like Christmas and New Year's. And there, I don't know if it's the same now, but fireworks were huge. Like we would just go outside, blow up a bunch of fireworks. All your neighbors would have fireworks. You'd blow up fireworks in trash cans just so they'd be louder, like that. Yeah. So it was so great because there were also so many family members. And this is like a dumb little kid thing, but you could just see like under the Christmas tree were just presents loaded because it was just like gifts for mom and dad, gifts for grandma and grandpa, gifts for everyone's kids. So it was always such a huge Christmas, and they'd go all out with their decorations. They had cute, like old timey, like 40s Christmas decorations that they probably kept for years and years. And yeah, I really miss that. They had a pretty, decently sized house in sort of a not great area of Hawaii.
But still Hawaii,
Still Hawaii, but they're, it's definitely not one of the touristy parts. There's like poorer residential areas that are
the real Hawaii.
Yeah, the real Hawaii where you got the tin roofs and all that.
But that's real island life. Like
that's real island.
And that's something like people don't know about me. As I spent, my years from like year 10 to 15, I was in St. Croix on the U.S. Virgin Islands, and it was like a 2.5 world place. This was not like an affluent island that was, the local government was corrupt, like literally murdering each other. All kinds of crap was going on. You were getting hit with hurricanes the whole time. And yeah, real island life is like, not having milk on the island for 3 weeks and, just like you say, but and for example, having Christmas with no snow, that's like a common island thing where you're like, maybe we'll go to the beach and that type of thing. But it's really cool to hear that. Yeah.
I was born and raised in California, so not having snow during Christmas wasn't, going to Hawaii and still having no snow during Christmas. Like, oh, this is going somewhere where there is snow during Christmas would be more shocking to me.
Yeah.
But
always come over. We have tons of it here.
Yeah, starting to get it.
As long as I don't have to drive through it, because I'll have no idea. But yeah, I always remember having super fond memories where we got to, visit family and just hang out, and it was just chaotic, and I loved it. And I don't know, good memories.
Big family, it sounds like. So that's
huge.
Buzzing, and with fireworks blowing off in tin cans. That sounds amazing. So, what about your highlights then from the last couple of weeks? What have you been up to?
I've been experimenting with the Meta's shared spatial anchoring. So now that I have the Quest
Oh, yeah.
3, my husband can get the Quest 2 because he always gets my downgraded headsets. So I've been like, oh, okay, cool. Now they both have quests. We can actually do like multiplayer quest games now. And so first we tried Demeo in pass through in the same space, and that's really cool. Like he likes VR and stuff. Although sometimes I can't tell if it's because he knows that it's my livelihood or if it's because he actually is interested. Like there's certain games he really likes, but this one I could tell he really, really liked the idea of being able to, see your space and have Demeo as a board game like on your table and
Sure.
be able to watch everyone in real time, move your figures around, have your cards and stuff. So that was really cool. And then I moved him we tried puzzling places after too, because we also do like, we're kind of dorks and sometimes we have puzzles that we like real life puzzles we work on. So I was like, well, he might like this one. And both worked really, really well. I mean, we risked trying hand tracking to get like even more immersion, and occasionally like our hands, like his hand would end up being mine or vice versa. Like our hands would stick to each other. And we'd have to go like this. So it's like, give me my hand back. But
Weird.
other than that, it was really cool. And so I really appreciate the fact that, those couple of devs out there took the time and effort to integrate this, because it's like how many people are going to have multiple quests in the same space? Like that's probably such a small subset within a small subset, but it is really cool. And I hope more devs do it in the future, but I can understand why they don't. But it's so neat. Like I do feel bad for Tilt 5. I think you mentioned that. I kept thinking that in the
Yep.
back of my head.
Yeah.
It's
Gone.
like,
Yeah.
oh, this is so much better to like
Yeah.
Tilt 5 with
Yeah. And the fact that you buy and you get a board game and one pair of glasses and the tether isn't very long. I mean, to be able to do it where you can like walk to the kitchen and get a glass of milk and cookies and come back and sit down again and continue working on the puzzle. I played that with my wife as well. And the spatial anchoring, for those who don't know, it means that you can hand a puzzle piece, for example, to your significant other, your buddy, or whatever. You can just pick it up. And the nice thing is you could have little couples arguments in that space as well. It gets super
Oh, yeah.
fun. You could be like, no, give me that. No, give me that. Like you just act like kids again, and it's amazing.
Piece doesn't go there, you idiot.
Yeah.
Is the shared
Get angry,
spatial
flip the
anchoring
table over.
working in Demeo now? Like the mask is in the right place and the table's in the right spot? Because when we tried it a few weeks ago, it wasn't working yet.
For the most part, but I also found if things get messed up, because it seemed like it was working better on my Quest 3 than on his Quest 2. But in the settings, there's a sync button. So if things get kind of messed up looking, we would usually sync it to whoever's sync seemed the most like in place, or they were having the least amount of issues. So maybe we had to do that like a couple of times and then it fixed it. Because sometimes his board would be like in the table, but I think that's my fault for doing like a crappy outline of the table. Maybe it was too low. But it was no problem. Even if I did a crappy Guardian setup on his, he could just align it to mine with the sync and it was fine.
Yeah, I think not just Tilt 5. Like, think about like dungeon masters out there who are running D&D campaigns. I mean, it's not going to be long before the de facto is not just, I'll call it, the analogy here is, you're reading a book or you're going to watch the full cinematic experience. Like you're going to go see a film. Like I'm going to watch, like what's the first thing kids are going to do? They're probably going to see Lord of the Rings in the cinema before they go and read, Tolkien's masterpiece and read the book. And I think that's similar to like D&D experiences. I think it's not going to be pen and paper and, character sheets anymore. I think it's going to end up being a thing that you do in mixed reality with your friends because everyone's got a headset. And that point about quests, I mean, Quest 1 to Quest 2, I agree that like that used to be a rare thing, but now I think there's a lot of Quest 2s floating about ever since a ton of people got into VR with Quest 2 and the pricing and all of that. And I think there's probably more people out there, but I think people don't know that this exists. The fact that you can get two headsets that share basically over your local area network, composited data. And like you were applauding there, man, developers, keep doing this. If your game can work this way, please put the time in. It's
So
really
cool.
special. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So that is a cool highlight, Adam. All three of you answered the questions on the spot beautifully. They were fantastic little moments, and a shout out to my wife for asking me, because she's like, I really want to know who these people are. Can we go in a little bit more detail about
Oh God,
their
she's gonna
backstory?
think I'm a crook now.
Oh, now
Whole view has changed.
yeah,
Jose's a punk and Rowdy's a crook, and
yeah, I was, yeah. Honestly,
Adam's a
I feel
heartfelt
like we are,
family lass. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like we're right on character, in my opinion.
Not
That
far,
wasn't
not
a joke when I
His
named
name is
myself.
Rowdy. Well,
Yeah.
like what, you know?
That's a
It shouldn't
good
be
point.
surprising from Rowdy.
Yeah. The guy names himself by his actions. Come on now.
Crash is saying 2 sock guys. Yeah, you guys got to wrangle that story
Sock
out of me.
bros.
Anyway,
Every time I see Zim from now on, I'm gonna be like, "Yo, Zoc, bro."
I don't like this.
all right. Well, you're great, really, chat. Thanks very much for showing up, sticking out our quibbles and punch ups throughout the various episodes. Coming back for more ringside action here on FReality. I'm terribly distracted during the podcast, and I rarely get the time to thank you and interact live with you. So I just want to thank our crew for keeping an eye and encourage anyone who's new to just speak up. If you want to say hello and share a bit about yourself, your history, or what you've been playing, please do. My turn now. So I am ZimTalk5, commonly called Zim, and I think it's only fair we allow chat to suggest questions that Rowdy, Adam, and Jose get to pick for me. But you guys have to settle on one, okay? So chat, you guys bubble the pot, and I'll talk a little bit about my week's highlight, and then we can come back to the question.
Take
So
a good one.
I'm sure you three will. Well, chat is coming up with some options. I'm going to report back from the front first. So first up, I got to see Tool live with my wife. Everything went to plan. Well, pretty much. Scotland was clearly upset that we left them, and they sent rain to Canada. So it pissed down the whole bloody day, harder than I've ever experienced here. Freezing rain. But we had burgers out. We went to a really slick little board game joint in Toronto. Really cool, like angelic kind of appeal, and 70% like women there. And it was like a really cool place. I was like, damn, this is a gamer hut. Great desserts. And then we got to see Tool in a 20,000 person stadium. Incredible light show, as usual. And they dropped, for those people who are fans of the band, they dropped Fear Inoculum styled confetti on us during the emo parts in Numa. And it was just like, oh my gosh, our like souls were soaring. It was incredible. So it was, you know, as good as, if not better than the other Tool shows I've been to. Really impressive. And the in-ear insert that I was talking about last time, the eargasms, the hearing protection. Damn, that was such a lifesaver, and it worked way better than I even expected it to. Absolutely no ringing coming out of the concert, no discomfort from wearing them. So cool. Date night was a success. So huge fan of the band. If you don't know them, go check them out. They're my favorite band. Rowdy's a big fan as well. So
Oh yeah.
that was my run at Tool. The one thing I didn't know was that they were showing 2 nights. I didn't know they were going to do different sets the 2 nights. I would have booked and paid for double the tickets if I'd known. Anyway, you gotta live your life, right? And making mistakes is part of it. My VR highlight is something not far off. You know, ladies of the night, plenty of guns, lots of driving. I got GTA 5 working in VR again.
Yeah.
After my stream has been kind of poking me for years on getting this going again. So I went for a tour in the new Steam Link app and just really went to town. This is the first time I've actually been playing the story. Like I've played, you know, GTA 2, 3, Vice City, San Andreas, 4. So I've played all the previous games, but I just have never had time to play GTA 5. And I knew it was quite big, so I was like, I'll just wait for a time when I can get some. But I've done about 15 hours now in first person mode on the Steam Deck, just getting nestled in with all of that, and spent about 2 hours in VR at this point. I've been sick like all week, so it was kind of tough doing that, but did a little video on it, and just wanted to, you know, show off the Lucross mod, which you can still get hang on, but it's basically a point shot, like snapshot point in time version that you deal with. You do it in offline mode, and you can still play, and it plays smoothly, better than I was expecting it to. And so all I can say is GTA 6 had better feckin' have VR support, because they just mentioned that a trailer's coming out next week, and I'm super amped now.
I love that they announced the trailer.
Dude.
Right? It's like,
Yeah.
that's kind of weird, right? Where
Dude,
where
they
we've
have
gone
a
to.
chat. with the announcement. There's a chat, and I think I saw like it said like 80 hours, like a live stream. The live stream for the announcement has a chat, the YouTube chat. And I think they opened it up like 90 hours before ahead of time, and it's like it has like 10,000 people just waiting in there. Just
Oh my God.
that's why they did it. Like this is like I think they said $2 billion, 10 years of investment. So that's
it's too big a game. I hope they don't do what Bethesda did and are so up their own ass that they put out a AAA title that serves. It kind of does like a Star Citizen, like tries to do too much and kind of underdelivers. What I've noticed being a GTA fan, and what I'm noticing in GTA 5 is they increment on what they did before and they allow you to do more. Like I can open more doors, I can drive more things, I can interact with more people. There's more reactions, there's more things on TV. There's more radio stations, right? But like if they just step it up that one notch, I still believe in Rockstar. I believe in their ability to understand the value. Now I understand that they are serving a huge community. Absolutely enormous. And VR is a lot to ask. I still think it's the right play. I think it's the right
coming.
play.
I think VR. I think they pull the fact that they went against VR and they pulled against it. They went against the Luke Ross mod. They wouldn't do all that if they weren't trying to prepare for VR. And they also know that that's the future of metaverse living, right? That's one of the biggest things about GTA. It's really not the story itself. It's the role-playing community. That's the interesting thing is that GTA really is an MMO that it doesn't sell itself as an MMO. And the people that figure out it's an MMO, they hardcore. Like I see people that role play as cops on Twitch and they pull people over and it's
I've
crazy.
seen that. It's so entertaining.
Yeah. No, I love it.
I think what for me like really makes a Rockstar game is how real the world feels in a way.
Yeah.
Like how it feels like how it feels like you're a part of that that world rather than like the person where everything revolves around. And I think the perfect example of that is Red Dead Redemption 2. I think that is still a step further than you see with GTA 5 at least, where you really feel like you're a part of that world rather than that everything revolves around you. Which of course it kind of does, but it feels like you often stumble into things that you feel like would have been going on even if you weren't there. And I think that is super cool. Yeah. And I'm wondering then as well, like, with all the AI stuff that has been going on recently, if we're going to see integrations of that in the game as well, where you see like missions being, even though like missions are set, but like ways that missions play out are maybe a little bit different, like NVIDIA has introduced recently with their showcase as well. If we're gonna start seeing that, I mean, if there's one studio that has the budget to already start integrating these kind of things, it's probably Rockstar, right? I don't know of course the game has been developed already way longer than when, these big advancements in AI started coming forward. So I don't know if they had any plans for that, but it would be cool to see some of that stuff being capitulated on. Yeah.
100%.
I think there was an announcement for kind of a Western style VR support in Rockstar. Remember, they've done LA Noire before. They can do it. They can absolutely do it. They've shown they can do it. And they've shown that they can bring value to even their existing titles in a mod style way, even when they've given a slice of their game. I just want them to take on board the people who have modded or if they have to, cap it, develop their own thing and release. And even if it's not a simultaneous release, if it's we're going to put the main game out and 6 months later or a year later, do a VR mode, kind of like what Sony's now doing, we'll talk about a little bit later. That's just as exciting to me, but I want the full fat experience. I don't want a slice. I don't want a Doom VFR, right? I want the full world, because what Rowdy said there is exactly the reason I love No Man's Sky. It's exactly the reason I love Skyrim, is you step into the world and without following the main story, goddamn, you can have a good role play time. You can just go and
be fair though.
Be there,
No Man's Sky didn't have VR till later down the road. So I truly think that I'll give you a better one. I think that GTA 6 should be the first game that opens right out the gate with mod support. with a mod store, with a mod library.
No.
That way, because that's a big economy. The people making custom cars and all that stuff. I think that they have, honestly, GTA, of all the game platforms I've seen out there, next to like World of Warcraft, I think that they have probably the best accessible platform to build an actual like asset community.
Mm-hmm. Now, for me though, although I think that the modding is really important, I think there are like 3 things that makes a Rockstar game. Number 1 is indeed the open world. I think that is the big thing. Pretty much every Rockstar game that they've made that's been a huge success has had aspects of that open world at least. And I think the second thing is a very strong storyline, like movie worthy. The writers that they have on those teams are enormous. So I think that is probably number 2 for me. And then number 3 would probably be the modding. But I do hope that they keep that order, like open world.
I agree.
Very strong story. And
the characters are incredible.
Yeah.
So good.
This is okay, and this is why I wanted to share it as my highlight. I have a little story. So, and that's what I'm learning. You always see the posters, you see the 3 dudes, the 3 characters, but now I've just started to learn it, and I didn't realize how feckin' R-rated this game is. Like, oh shit, it really throws it in your face. And whenever I play GTA, when I've played on stream, whatever, I always get myself in trouble. Always. First time around, I played the game live, and the music in the game, I totally forgot about. Fucking streamer, what am I thinking? Stream was taken down live, right? Like we did that once with this podcast with a special word, which we won't repeat. The second night, I did it like night after night. And then the second night I was streaming, my wife walked in while I was with the lady of the night, and she was like, "Am I interrupting something?" And the chat's like, "Oh!" And it was fantastic. Just the timing was immaculate there. But this time, well, there's a mission in Grand Theft Auto where you're filming a pop star, let's say Britney Spears, and she's, well, I'll say accommodating a gentleman from behind, and you're having to film and keep the viewfinder smack on the action. Well, here I am, playing with the Steam Deck docked on my big TV, loudspeakers, all this kind of stuff around, and my 9-year-old girl walks in.
Oh boy!
And she's like, "Hey, Dad."
God.
And
Daddy, what
I'm
are you
like, "Oh,
doing?"
this is fine. This will be quick." But no, they force you to kind of keep an eye on the action for like straight 60 seconds. And my daughter's like, "Hey, what's going on?" No, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Oh,
The game is glitching.
And I'm not shy, and our kids get to see plenty of stuff. Like we don't shelter them. But damn, seeing some blonde chick take a tennis lesson while I'm there trying to explain what's going on, it was a very dad-daughter moment. Incredibly awkward, and my highlight of the week.
That's so funny.
Wow.
So yeah. So I look forward. The plan here was for me to, while I was sick, kind of get ready, try to share a no HUD variant, because I didn't see much of that on the internet of what GTA 5 can do now, so that we could dream a bit. This wasn't even related to the GTA 6 news. Like, I've been working on this for like a couple of weeks, and so put that up on my channel, but just really as a teaser for a stream that's coming hopefully tomorrow. So
Nice.
be able to do that live with an audience, I think it's going to be super fun. With that, that's enough fanning about with Zim's mental issues and pastime. I am quite ill, so apologies this podcast if the vocal audio quality isn't great. And assuming I don't pass out, we've got a nice brimming episode for you. So that's the intros done and dusted with.
What about your question?
I was just about to come back to that. So
Okay.
you 3 need to peer into chat, and Adam, if you want to curate there and call some out, then you 3 can agree the one that I'll answer.
We had a couple that were like VR related and one that was more IRL related. I kind of like that one a little more, but I'll read all of them so we can help decide. The first one was, what genres of game do you want to see in VR more? And then from Laura, what has been your favorite place to live? I guess that can be tacked on to where you've lived. And then we had, what is your favorite non-gaming mixed reality app on Quest? So I'm leaning a little bit more towards the places one, but I
Same.
don't know. What else decide? Okay, we're Brad. That's 2 out of
Brady's
3
got a
already,
look on his
so-
face. I always worry about that.
I want more. I want more like the kind of questions like, have you ever been in jail? No.
I mean, if I had to pick, I would pick the more embarrassing one.
Yeah,
but we
yeah.
didn't have that as an
But
option.
I
What's
think
wrong with you guys?
I think I know the
You
answer.
guys can mod it if you want. If you 3 want to agree and mod this question about the place location, then fire away.
Yeah, no. That's. I mean, I think I know the answer, but
Who's your favorite place?
Yeah.
Yeah. So where? I guess I'll add on like where have you lived before, and out of those, which has been your favorite?
Okay. So I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. So I was born in Ohio in kind of Amish country type of thing, not to an Amish family, but to a guy who had really gotten into the U.S. illegally from Ireland, and met my mother, who was American. And then he worked in the oil industry, so we moved around a lot. So like it was like Ohio, then Delaware, Ohio, Alaska, the Caribbean, Ireland, and then England, Scotland, Canada.
Jesus.
That's
Where
my
haven't you lived?
Well read.
Rounded tour of the English speaking world, I suppose. And my favorite place was Alaska. I was, I don't know, 8 to 10 years old, living in Anchorage, and it was just gorgeous. And the thing I like to say about it is it's the one place that I've seen where, you know, humanity and humans and all their systems and control and roads and homes
Don't worry.
aren't winning. Like you're not like we're not suppressing nature. Like nature's like gonna eat you alive, you know? And it's not just bears and Kodiaks and grizzlies, and it's not that. It's more just the conditions of the place are so extreme and so natural. Like getting to see Mount McKinley, getting to see just one night we pulled in the car in our kind of old brown house and looked up at the stars, and it was like the Northern Lights. And that is seared into my brain. Like just seeing waves of color, not like a rainbow, very different, incredibly cosmic. If anyone's not seen them, that's something to seek out and do in your lifetime, I would say. You feel like you're being touched, and I'm not a really religious guy, but you feel like you're being touched by a god when you see it. I don't know if it's doing something damaging your eyes or something at the same time, but it is incredible to see the effect on the magnetosphere and just this pattern appear. So Northern Lights, Alaska, walking a glacier, for example, just all of that together. It's just like, it feels like an untouched place. One thing to know before you go, if you're a lady, like the ratio up there, male to female, is 9 to 1. So it's like 9 dudes for every 1 lady. So ladies are very popular up in Alaska, but there's also high rape cases and stuff. So be careful. There's a lot of lonely guys in Alaska, is what I'm saying. Beardy,
Thanks.
you know, all that kind of thing. Look like Rowdy, really.
So, having lived there, what do you think? Do we have a base where people live on Mars
That's
within
what I'm
5
about
years?
to ask. Yes.
Do we have a what?
A base on Mars where people will live within 5 years.
In 5 years? God, no. Even the journey
There's
time
people
is
saying
too
that.
long.
People saying that.
Yeah.
Like, it's like
I can still
go
imagine.
and live like somewhere like where it's harsh on Earth for 5 years, and we'll talk again. Like it's
Yeah. Loneliness is hard. Like even if you're in a downtown in a city, loneliness is hard. But if you're off on your own, like surviving, like that's just a totally different thing. Especially when it's extreme like that. But yeah, Alaska's beautiful. Definitely try to get there if you can, if you haven't had a chance.
A vacation, but maybe not live there because scared of men.
And rightly so.
Did you
seriously.
Did you ever visit the truck from the movie Into the Wild, from the book?
Oh my god.
Rock?
The bus? The guy who lived in the bus.
The guy who wanted to go to Alaska? You've never seen Into the Wild?
It was a book
I've never seen Into the Wild.
Such a good movie. Yeah.
Not that I remember. I think the only film that I know, and I don't know the title of it, was one about a guy who downed a small airplane and then was eating mice with ketchup.
Yes.
That one I remember.
That is such a good movie. Yes.
It is. I don't remember. Do you know the name?
Flight something. I forgot the name of it. But yeah, they get stuck in the top of the mountain and they have to eat one other people, and then I love it's so weird because I don't like the idea of being in nature, but I love nature survival. I feel like in my past life exactly. I felt like in my past life I definitely died doing some expedition or something like that.
It's your bus.
And just because that question got asked, I think a survivalist VR experience is something we're missing, sorely missing. It doesn't have to like. I was hoping Survivor Man might be something like that.
I was gonna say that one, but I was like,
and Green Hell, you know, shout outs to them. Like they got. I don't want the guys from Green Hell to be listening to this and be like, "We're doing that, man." Like,
the thing is, I experienced the game that I think would have done incredible in VR, and then they switched away from it. It was from the producer of DayZ worked on it. They flew me. Well, they put me up in California, and I did contracting work with them, and then they scrapped the project. And I'm like, feck, when you see something that you think was going to take off, and then they screw it up, it sucks. Anyway, that's a story for another time. Let's get on with our main topic. I've swapped things around this time so that hopefully those of you who've come along to the beginning of the show can get the advantage and get the main topics. So first off, let's start off with Quest Link. And I'm going to have Rowdy show you the Steam Link trailer. Sorry, Quest Link, Steam Link. I'm crossing my brain.
Steam Link for
Apologies.
Quest.
Steam Link for
Still,
Quest, yeah.
yes, Steam Link for Quest. It's all getting a little bit complicated. Steam Deck, Stream Deck, Steam Link, Stream Link, Quest Link, Air Link.
Desktops and virtuals.
Virtual desktops. So the beauty about this, for those who don't realize what it is it's a very simple solution and a massive partnership, even if it doesn't look at it on the face of it, between Meta and Steam and Valve, essentially. Because what this allows you to do in a very simple, downloadable piece of software, just an app, just like you would download a game from the store. It's a free one. From the Quest store, you download what is called Steam Link. And Steam Link operates to connect your headset wirelessly over your network, just streaming content from a local PC to your Steam library. So if you have a library full of Steam VR games that before, you were tethering to the headset, or you're using AirLink or virtual desktop, the beauty of this is a straight through, I'll say, is almost as naked a connection as you can get directly to your Steam library. Low latency, super slick, very, very easy to use, and highly performant. Now, this is specifically for games and gaming. This is not going to give you YouTube or Netflix or everything else that you might be doing. For example, if you're a virtual desktop aficionado like I am, I work using virtual desktop, for example. I'm fine with the kind of single screen environment. I'll deal with that. But the stuff, the beautiful, environments in that Geek Godin has given us over the years, that stuff kind of, I think, has remained untouched by this. However, where the contention does come in is if you are a user of AirLink or virtual desktop, for example, for game connectivity, this is super slick. I tested it, for example, with Grand Theft Auto 5. From the middle of a room with a controller, totally works. Totally fine. Can't even tell it's not on a wire. And so it's a beautiful piece of software. It's incredible that they dropped this. And some have said, oh, well, Meta must be desperate. And this is the part that's really, really interesting, is that this probably could have come out a year ago, 2 years ago, maybe even earlier when the Quest first launched and they started to come through with various links. Because to some extent, Meta is essentially saying, we care about people using our headset. We care about people playing games in our headset and clocking up hours and staying in the ecosystem. And we care so much that we're willing to give away the price tag that we would have charged you to buy the same game in the Meta Quest store that instead you go and pick up in a Steam sale or something like that. And oftentimes the price in Steam is less by 10% as it is. So they're saying, we're going to give up that piece to Valve. And I wonder what the deal is between them. I think it's incredibly smart. I think that there's a term that's been mentioned out there. I think I last saw Denny talk about it, that a rising tide raises all boats. And I just see this and I think it's beautiful. I think it's a beautiful little relationship here that they've set up. And I want to see Meta do more of this, just like they did with their partnership agreements this year. Like, lower your conditions, lower the greed, and just go for the stuff that benefits the end user. It's amazing. So if you haven't already heard the news this week, Steam Link, go check it out. It's just too easy to use. It's super great. It's great.
I love that you mentioned the fact that VR desktop is not going to go anywhere. Virtual desktop is not. A lot of people keep comparing it to virtual desktop. Virtual desktop is a way different application showcase than what Quest Link is. Or sorry, Steam Link. Now you got that in my head. But you mentioned for gaming, and it's very important that we highlight that this is not just for VR streaming. This also streams Steam games into your headset, right? So every single actual Steam game is not going to be streamed onto your headset. They're going to be bringing, and you mentioned that this could have been brought prior to now, but the truth is, it would have been a terrible experience. The CPU that the Quest 2 had, the Quest 1 did not have the capabilities of having enough CPU processing to handle the bandwidth of the streaming capability. That's what virtual desktop does really, really well, because they're using an actual application to pretty much do all the buffering, all the rendering, where Steam or Valve, and you mentioned the partnership there, that's where the real cool part starts coming in, because Valve used APIs that I'm pretty sure that Guy does not have access to, and Meta was not going to give access to anyone just yet unless they were first party. But Valve is way too big of a company. We actually have even Sony started publishing onto their store. Epic Games is going to be bringing Fortnite into the Steam store because they realized that the Valve corporation, people focus a lot about the engineering skills and all that, but Valve has masterful global businessmen. These are people that can get their store into markets that we don't even know they have computers sometimes. We don't even know the name of these countries or places, right? So they have a level of access there, plus they have data on how sales occur. So this is something I've been talking about for quite a while, and I get so excited about it. But what we're seeing with Valve is this is the operating system of the future. It's user interface parity. So imagine the same Steam link that you see on your Quest 3 or 2, but that's going to be on Vision Pro. It's going to be on every single clone headset that you're going to see in the market. And it's history repeating itself, but just at a different hardware agnostic standpoint.
We actually have Guy Gaudin in the chat, who is the creator from the fantastic virtual desktop. And he actually poses two very interesting questions, and I think it's valid to bring that up as well. And one is from the Meta side, and the other one is from Valve side. And he asked, the question is, did Meta maybe completely give up on PSVR and Link or AirLink, which is a valid point? Yes. Maybe they feel like that is a market they maybe don't want to put too much money in. And then the second
question for a second. Hold the second question.
And then the second question. Hold it. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to answer that first one, and from my point of view, I really do feel they abandoned about 2 years ago.
Yes.
And that that's hardware stack, right, and the software behind it has been languishing and has not been addressed. And one of the comments I made this week, which I'll echo here again, is the Steam Link, which was a big success. I think it was 2018 when they launched that, where you can tap a cable into your otherwise wireless headset, and you can tether and you can play your games. And one of the things Guy had done, right, was that certain games were incompatible, and he slowly worked to kind of bring compatibility through. That's been wonderful and maturing through the years, but it really hasn't. I haven't seen it move from Meta's side, and that stack is still so awkward. You plug it in, for people who don't know, right? You plug it in, you have to say, please handshake with this USB connection. I then have to launch into Oculus Link, which loads the 5 gigabyte downloaded local client desktop for which used to be called Oculus Home. Don't know what the heck it's called now. Meta Quest desktop PC client.
It's actually still called Oculus Home, which answers your question that they're depreciating all this. I don't want to talk too much about this because it will kind of reveal conversations that I've had, and I don't want to. But I'll say this: the engineering team behind AirLink, they're not there anymore. Amanda Watson has left AirLink publicly, so I can say her name. But the product manager for AirLink, they have handed over the AirLink product manager role 3 times in the last 2 years. There's a lot of engineers that are focused on AirLink. The PSVR publishing side for Vertigo 2. Mounting, I don't want to mention too much, but we're going to see Oculus publishing into the Valve Steam store next year.
Oculus publishing. Say that again. We're gonna see.
So all the Oculus published PSVR games are going to be in the Steam store, and
that would be a big shift.
Yeah, that's the partnership there. Meta, they have, and it's so weird talking about this stuff because Mark Zuckerberg has said it. It's just we don't want to listen to him sometimes.
I know.
This is metaverse building. They're building roads. They're not building buildings. They're not building public sectors. They're building roads. So Valve already has one of the best buildings and e-commerce for games. So they don't care. They don't really care anymore about software. They care about engagement times and use times.
Of course.
And that,
and you know where Meta's hurting? We're like, it's the dust on the shelf headset. Like what they need is they do need our attentiveness. They need the headset to be in use on regular use. Otherwise, there's no grip. And that play would make loads of sense. I hope that is true, Jose, and that we do see Meta software land on Steam. It makes sense for both companies.
Yeah, I'll say this with pretty slight confidence. Just like I said that Steam Link was coming to the Quest. I said it here on the podcast a bunch of times.
Yeah.
That it was coming, and I say with 100% confidence, we'll see Steam Link on PSVR 2, and we'll see it on the Apple Vision Pro.
Dude.
We're gonna see it on every single headset. Because Gabe is an operating system guy. he like I've been saying this for quite a while. It's weird when people talk about this stuff, especially like me, because it sound like a crazy person connecting all the dots. But we spoke about it last podcast, right? Like Microsoft threw billions of dollars over a weekend over GPTs, which is and this is actually, it should have been my shout out earlier when I talked about it, but shout out to operating system devs who are integrating AI into OS functionalities, because that's exactly what's about to happen.
Let's go to the second question.
It's disrupting apps. Yeah, let's get to the Quest second app. But yes, it is coming. And they're abandoning PCs.
I think the second question just ties into that very well with the because Kiko Dan says, and maybe Valve gave up on developing or shipping VR headsets, which. Yes. Which is interesting because it goes a little bit against, what we've been seeing from Satly's Bradley, with the Deckard, all of that stuff. But I think it is I think it is a valid question to pose, because Valve does have the reputation to completely, shut down something that they have been working on for years. Even successful or moderately successful products that they feel will not have future or does not fit into their plans. Because they're such a big company, they can just shut that down and move on to something that they find more interesting to pursue. So I do think, I don't know it, of course, because nobody knows. But it is a valid question maybe to pose, that there's are we going to see that more, that, maybe that is part of that agreement with Meta, going more on the hardware side, and we're seeing, Steam Link being integrated. And of course, they're still going to do aspects of that software side, but that maybe Valve is also less focusing on the hardware side and more developing.
They're 100% that when you look back at the conversations of the index was created because there was no hardware benchmark that could create what Valve was going after, but that conversation has changed. Why would you bring? I'm a big believer of why reinvent the wheel when Meta's already throwing billions of dollars in making really nice cars, when a software company, a operating system company that is willing to scrape technology that doesn't have scale because they're thinking about the 30 years and not thinking about the 2 years. They're going to scrap anything that will stop the goal of a Trojan horse in software on all hardware.
It feels like a yin yang to me. It feels like they kind of just reached an agreement and they're now just locked hands.
Yes.
So on Valve's side, right? They're like, well, we want to allow your users to buy and play our games. So please let us into your store. And on Meta's side, they're like, we've got a headset that, needs to be looked after, a little bit of tender love and care. But we would also like to not lose the money that we're making on our store. So let us sell on your store, our first party or third party funded software. And so I think between the two of them, neither company will end up losing out. I think the net position improves.
Yeah.
And as a guy who's fallen mitten in love with is Steam Deck and just portable, all the things that portable PC handheld can do. I am so excited for the future. And even if Valve was to back off of plans for a Steam Deck equivalent VR headset, this as an intermediary step, whether that is a future or not, is a great win for both companies, in my opinion. I think it's really cool.
I'm a nerd, and I remember like what this announcement makes me go back in thinking. I don't remember how old I was. I was like 10 years old, but I remember and this was really early live streams, when Apple came on the stage and they were talking about how when Steve Jobs got Apple back, and they were talking about bringing the momentum back, and they were talking about the weaknesses that Apple was experiencing during that time. It was software in enterprise. And on the stage, Bill Gates gets on a screen with Steve Jobs, and people lost their mind. But how did they lose? But what happened with that? They immediately said, it's like, we're going to get Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Apps, $100 million immediately into the market. This is exactly what's happening in the modern age. Like, if anything, Apple and Valve, if Valve is moving into this place, 100%. Gabe is the new Gabe Newell is the new Bill Gates, 100%. It's overlays, Windows, overlays. I mean, Bill Gates. Listen, Bill Gates is going to come back. Actually, I'm telling you, this is history being cyclical.
Wait, like a zombie?
No, like Bill Gates is going to get back into the operating system race. Oh, I'm telling you, like that guy is going to. These are conversations that that nerds are having, and people in the this is as big as when PowerShell was introduced to succeed MS-DOS, where every single functionality on the computer will be able to be replicated and automated. And now that is no longer enclosed into a specific hardware. It's now on the cloud. So all of that is now shared amongst multiple devices. It's like Discord. So what happens if Discord also has apps and applications, and you have your network, but you also can buy stores, and it doesn't matter what cell phone or device you're using. You can get a phone from 2014 and still stream your high-end game as if it was brand new. That's the new soft operating
and
system.
where we are, you talked about something a little bit earlier, and then we'll maybe wrap on this topic and give Adam a chance if she's got any comments here. Poor Adam, she's been sitting there grinning away. But just a question about, and really just a kind of point of view on what you said earlier. So this is the right time from a mobile VR hardware perspective. It's the right amount of CPU and grunt that you've got. From a streaming perspective, with wireless 5G in most houses, and now 6 and 6E coming with more bandwidth, kind of enough bandwidth for smooth streaming experience. We've got devices like, the PlayStation Portal. As I said, the Steam Deck is very capable at that. Loads of other handhelds. You've got in-home streaming of games on Steam. It just feels like such a great time to be a VR or just gaming nerd and like be able to appreciate all of this.
Or not to have money. It's we spoke about it last time. This is the era of super affordable technology, mass scalable. This is when think about when the Super Nintendo came, the Game Boys just dropped in prices, and then we're about to see just $100 headsets, $120 headsets, and they're going to be able to be comparable to like Apple Vision Pro. Just the processing is not happening on the headset; it's just happening on the computer.
Yeah, it's great. And so, Adam, anything from all of that you'd like to comment on?
I disagree.
I was trying to think of a way to word this that wouldn't get me in trouble, but I really do think that for sure Meta has given up on everything PCVR besides AirLink. Again, wording this very carefully, if you think about any other tools that might work better for PCVR than something that Meta could make for themselves, I think that we're going to see a lot of Meta contracting out third-party companies to do these things for them. Whether that's because it's going to be cheaper, hiring their own employees to make or keep up with these sort of things, or they just can't do it as well as some of these other companies can. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that. Anything that has any sort of PCVR connection, they're just hands off. Maybe going to be having someone else do that instead. So I did get to try Steam Link like super quick.
Same.
I was in the same room as my router, so some of my technical issues are probably going to be due to that. But despite that, it worked really well for me. I like I still don't think that I still do like virtual desktop better in that it's just got so many more customizations and settings, but it was stupid simple to set up. Like
Yep.
stupid simple. Just literally install the thing. It detects your computer that's got Steam open. Here's a code. Type it on your Steam. Bam, you're in. Like I was like, oh wow, this actually just it works. I'm not used to things just working. Usually you got to troubleshoot things or wonder like why isn't it not picking up my computer or whatever, go back and forth between your desktop and your computer and doing this all the time or pass through or whatever. So I do applaud that. I think that this is going to be like I don't see a use for AirLink anymore to be honest. Like why? There's so much more issues that I've had with AirLink than with this. So it's I don't know, good times I think. Good on Steam. I'm happy that this is, they're broing it out or whatever's happening.
Broing it out.
Sock bros.
Yeah.
Two guys, one
good
sock.
Good old Mark and Gabe. There you go. Rowdy, anything else on that from Guy that, or are we?
Nope.
We have to move on from the Guy gun.
I blocked Guy on the podcast. He's not allowed to ask any more questions.
Good man. Good man.
We love you, Guy.
Oh,
Is it Guy or
absolutely.
Guy? I always say Guy.
He's
Is it
French.
Guy?
It's Guy. Guy
It's
Godin.
Guy. Okay, Guy. Oh, listen, I'll keep.
Unless I'm saying it wrong the entire time, and you can correct me, but I think
I'm sure
That'd be
it's
great.
Guy sounds like an actual name. I like that.
It does. Okay, so and then he comes back.
Comes back. It's actually Guy.
Oh, he's not going to tell us.
This is fun. Anyway, so let's move on to the main topic too. So this is about the Varjo XR4. This is a headset that was recently unveiled in the special announcement, the special event that Varjo had put on with a kind of a weird looking girl with a dragon tattoo styled invite. And Jose was excited about this, which got me in turn excited. And I tuned into the event and watched the whole thing. And it was a well-produced unveiling of their new headset line. And you could call it 3 or 4 SKUs of the same headset. And the thing that they were showing looked gargantuan, I'll be honest, was my first opinion. I looked at this thing and went, wow, it's a refrigerator that you can put on your face. But
maybe
this
the
is
motorbike
always...
was for scale.
This is always... Varjo's never been shy in the physical dimensions department, and it's basically the same size as an XR3. The features are that it's got a dual 4K by 4K display, and I remember winding back a few years ago when we were drooling at the thought of a 4K display, so it's got that. 120 degrees horizontal, 105 in the vertical, a 200 nit panel, so quite bright if you were to contrast it to, say, a Quest, which I think is at least half that, about 90 or so. It's got a wide color gamut, which definitely matters to people who care. Mini LED displaying with local dimming. So it's not an OLED panel, but mini LED is pretty good for a lot of use cases. And the actual resolution is 3840 by 3744. So that's some of the kind of key display specs. It also features 2 20 megapixel cameras, an ambient light sensor. And you're like, why the hell does my headset need to know about ambient light? Well, the reason is, well, it's using LiDAR to scan your environment and to do compositing with the mixed reality scene. It can better match the lighting conditions of the virtual and the real. They've also brought in DTS 3D spatial audio and on-headset audio, one of the things that in previous headsets people didn't really like. It's an inside-out tracked headset, so it's standalone, aside from having a cable. It's optimized for cloud streaming, which is great. And it's got a microphone as well. Again, another thing that wasn't on previous headsets. Connects via DisplayPort and USB-C. And the base model goes for about $4,000. There are other models that kind of ratchet up from there. There's an eye-tracked autofocus camera driven model, the Focus Edition, for $10,000, so just 10 G's. And for 14 G's gets you the Secure Edition, used for like military government work, where they strip out the wireless radios from the unit if you want to be secure in your base and make sure your data is okay.
Wait, how much was that?
So it's 4,000 for the base model,
Yeah.
10,000 for the Focus, which is the autofocus edition,
Yeah.
and 14,000 for the Secure edition, which
Yeah.
strips out the wireless technology.
Is it actually stripped out the wireless or sourced in a US factory?
I thought it was Finland.
Finland, yeah,
No?
I think that's what it's. I don't think they removed the radios. I think that they maybe they did. I didn't see that part, but the conversation I got to try it at ITSec, and I think that's what they
Cool.
told me is that it's just sourced in a public sector, managed facility.
There's
in
a credential that goes along with the secure editions, and there's two variants of that, one for 8,000, one
Okay.
for 14,000. I believe the 8,000 is the one with the stamp of approval or whatever, what was it called? TCAA.
PCAA.
And then my understanding was the 14,000 edition is one where you strip out all the
Wow.
wireless radios so that if you really need to use it and keep your data secure, you know for a fact
It's
that
local.
the headset isn't going to bite you.
That's actually pretty cool.
It is. It's also interesting that it's like strip out extra components and cost me more. But anyway,
I mean, it says a lot about the market
the
that
base
they tried
model-
to target.
The market,
right?
yeah, the
Like
target
this,
market
again, like very niche, very small markets.
it is.
Yeah.
But
man,
there's a few
yeah.
things about this that excite me. Number one, the base model is now half the price of the predecessor. So previously 8,000, now down to 4, which does put it in the same range as something like the Apple Vision Pro, right? It's not too far off. It's a very different use case, of course. But one of the things that's interesting is they have the sidebar arms on the headset and the balancing act that they have for this otherwise kind of heavy unit help to alleviate a lot of the weight. Sadly, it's Bradley had a local town demo of this and went through his video and his comments on the device, and actually he said it was a lot more comfortable to wear than he thought. It was quite an ingenious solution that they had in terms of this kind of weight balance on the device, but still a big bloody headset, right? So I think for most of us, from a consumer perspective, we're not going to use this. We're not simmers who are going to be using it that way. It's very much for, like we said, that government use case, for someone who's a designer who's going to be designing the chassis of a new motorbike, that type of thing. But it's a really interesting step in this direction. Clearly, Varjo are very proud of it. They put on an excellent showcase, and I just kind of stepped away from it thinking, hey, they're actually they're gunning for it. Like, they're really trying to be best in class in this space. They seem to be at the price point. And I think we can expect them to continue to iterate in this space, XR5, XR6. And based on those contracts that they're going to win off of the back of this product, I think they're going to do well, actually, for it. And I'm excited for where that goes. It'll be great if this is the footprint, we never have to get larger than this. Because to me, this looks like a white version of the big head. What was it called? Not the big head.
It is the big head, right? Wasn't it? The big one? The green?
It's like a Daft Punk VR headset.
Yeah.
Like I know that
Daft Punk,
I know the trackers make sense, but it almost
3D
looks
head?
like a look at us
3D
for a
head,
more
3D head,
expensive
yeah.
Quest 3. Like the
Yeah, it
luxury
does.
Quest 3.
It looks like something you'd see in a music video. They almost put a music video together to unveil it. I thought it was really cool seeing Bradley do it. And at the start of the podcast, I joked about him going off to a beach because he mentioned, he's like, oh, Valve do something fun. And then, of course, they did. But then got to see this recently. So it's all been, I know a lot of us here, we track Bradley's work as well. But it was a really fun week for him and his channel as well. So, Jose, obviously you were probably the most keen of the four of us on this.
Yeah.
What did you think about the announcement, and what does it mean to you?
I actually got to try the XR4 at
Tell
ITSec.
us.
Yeah. I tried it on an F1 simulator. So very briefly. Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. I just pretend like I understand what I'm doing and just fly straight in and answer questions. But Bradley mentioned it best, the counterweight. I don't know how much processing is happening in the back unit, if it's just the display port adapters. But there's something that it reminds me of, like the weights on a mouse, that you can add weights to kind of make the mouse feel a little bit heavier. It almost feels like that, where you're so used to having front heavy headsets that when you have something like kind of like push it towards at a higher top, it actually feels almost like comfortable. But after like an hour, I can see my neck hurting easily from it. So it's not as light of a headset. What stood out to me was the pass through. It's a different approach to pass through, where they're actually, it almost feels like you have a camera feed going through a glass where you're looking at pass through, but because it feels like glass, it's probably the best pass through mixed reality I've seen so far. And the way that they're pulling it off, it almost feels like, oh man, I don't know, like the augmented image is being reprojected and then like amplified on a glass, and then you have like another panel that, as you mentioned, that it's looking at the lighting, which also is able to copy like shadows and actually map them almost accurately onto digital objects. And that's where the magic really starts happening, because you're holding the steering wheel and you can actually see the shadow of your fingers around the controller, and you're using hand tracking. And so that's where you can kind of see, it's like, oh, this is actually meant for simmers. And to the field of view, that I don't know, a lot of people haven't really been talking about that. Like for augmented reality, right? My best benchmark of augmented reality is the Magic Leap 2. The problem with Magic Leap 2 is that you do get very vertical, large views, so you can actually look up and down very easily without moving your entire eye up or down, but you lose that from left or right. This one has a very large field of view, so you can immediately, when you step back and imagine like a whole cockpit for like an airplane. Before, when you have to kind of look around with move your head a lot, you don't have to do that anymore. The resolution is so high that you almost get like, oh whoa, it's really it's probably the closest thing to head tracking augmented reality.
That's what they were saying about the switches. So they were saying if you're in the cockpit of the F1, right, and you have the switch array overhead, that before you would have to move your head around. But now you can just look and you can see the panel above you, below you. And for anyone who's simmed in an F1, the number of buttons and switches is
it's
mental.
nuts.
Yeah.
And you can see the
power to get off the ground, I remember.
Yeah. I remember
like in DCS. Yeah, go on.
You can see like and that's exactly where, honestly, the top field of view is bottom field of view is something that like you can easily glance down, and you kind of almost like experienced VR users kind of know how to look down without moving their head down. The top view is actually where it's impressive, because you end up going like, oh, wait a minute, I don't have to stare up as much. Where staring down is much weirdly easier when you're wearing a heavy headset. It's really cool. That's the magic that I felt the most from the XR4.
So if we push aside the silly stuff, the size of the headset, the look and feel, the fact that you'd probably be limited in terms of how much time you'd put in it, maybe an hour or whatever. Like, what are the aspects of that headset that just stood out to you? Is it really the MR experience?
Yes, 100%. The masking, the ability to have high resolution.
Masking? Do you mean when there's real object over virtual object?
And then they asynchronize it with whatever trickery that they're using that adds virtual elements that feel physical,
like a virtual shadow.
Exactly, virtual shadows
really
on top
cool.
of it's nuts. You can also do that with physical objects. It can mask shadows on physical objects, so you can change the light of the environment. And you can see that. Like I saw a demo when they were, you're flying in night or day, and your controller holding I'm in an event, so it's very bright, and my hands are as bright as they can be. And when you enter like the nighttime scene, your hands darken. Wow. And I actually
the stuff that they're able to pull off there is crazy. I forget what Varjo headsets I tried, but even things like when you're sitting in the car and you look at the car's rearview mirror, you can actually see who's behind you. Like, I don't know how they do it. I don't know what the technology is called. It's probably secret to them, but so I'm not surprised at all that they just kind of took that and enhanced it. And it's just even all of the occlusion stuff that they do, all of the extra stuff that I think they add on to pass through to make it more realistic versus what we're used to on the Quest, where it's like I hold my hand, in front of something, but the virtual object is, in front of it. It's
occlusion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That occlusion, that's honestly the best way to describe it. It's like looking at a really good occlusion image on video, because you know that you're staring at a screen, but it's a very crisp screen.
You couldn't see like any outlines or weirdness that made it look like it was faking.
I noticed a lot of jitteriness when I don't know how to explain it. And I think it has a lot to do with my hands and just the color on my skin. I did notice a lot that it tries to compensate for skin tone way too much. And almost like when your hands are being masked and you're in a physical space, sometimes I notice that my hands kind of turn into like this chalky, cartoony hand, and it blurs a lot. It almost feels like it's trying to render my hand in real time. It's very odd, and you can like and just little things I noticed, like the wrinkles like in the knuckles.
Yeah.
I could see them like fade in and fade out, fade in, and that's honestly what I was. It's so weird because you can see it happening in real time. It's not meant to annoy you or bother you, but when you're a VR user, you look for those nitpicky things, and I could notice, like my knuckles, like the ridges were like disappearing and showing up, disappearing. I would stare, like if the camera would grab like some of my hand hair, I would stare at one, it'll just disappear. It's super weird. I'm seeing the masking in real time.
Like a Snapchat filter, but in
Yes.
VR pass through.
Yeah.
Make me young again.
Yes.
Jeez.
Weird.
That's really neat. But I'm always really curious about the range of skin tones that these things can deal with as well. Like you take someone who's got like Moroccan, like proper dark midnight black hands, right, and see if it can even know what to do with that.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting because these systems, and this this came out on like AI training and those kind of biases, but like you train them on a certain set of people, and then you try them somewhere else. And I still remember the old 1111 voice prompt thing where there's some Scottish lads in a lift and it's like it's not working because it was trained on American accents.
11. That's
amazing.
so funny.
Freedom.
So if you haven't seen that video, go check it out
brilliant.
to know what I'm talking about. It's really good. I didn't know about it when I was living in Scotland. So I suppose that's the headset. Just wanted to kind of cover off the main specs of that. Of course, it's being opened as well. So if you want to get your hands on one, if you got that much money to put in a headset and you're interested in something like this, you can, which is interesting. Varjo was interesting in that they weren't they partnering with their Arrow in game stores in North America?
Yeah,
GameStop.
I was actually involved in that, but it fell through.
I was going to say, so it happened for a time, and then they discontinued it.
They didn't see a market for VR just yet. They were trying to find the right partners. They were at the 11th hour. They just didn't do it.
Okay. Yeah. Not surprising. It's kind of an odd fit, but they're going after enthusiasts, so fair enough. Okay, so that's the Varjo. Anything else, Adam or Rowdy, you guys wanted to chip in there?
Nope, don't think so.
Okay, so we can move on. All right, so we're into our the fun stuff. So first up, I wanted to show off Apple's Yosemite scene. So we were talking about, obviously, the Varjo, Apple Vision Pros around the corner, coming out next year from Apple. Big deal. If you haven't heard about the Apple Vision Pro, go look it up. It's on the website. Look for the Vision tab. Crazy looking headset, really over-engineered. Maybe a beautiful headset when it comes out and Apple users in it. The one thing is that they're showing here is this just gorgeous scene. And the funniest thing to me seeing this is that first off, Apple tend to, on their Mac desktops, show off beautiful landscapes, right? It doesn't matter what it's for, but they've done all kinds of different things. This spot where the person is standing in the middle of what Rowdy's showing you is exactly where I was standing this summer when I went out for Oculus Connect, which is just bonkers. Looking up at El Capitan, this beautiful piece of granite, the largest on the planet. And it's just this serene little place in Yosemite, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And a lot of people were like, people who are tech aficionados who maybe have a Mac, know a little bit about tech, aren't really into VR, looking at this and going, oh my God, that's astounding. And it's just rekindling their interest in the Apple Vision Pro. And there's a lot of people who are, on the couch or on their sofa who are commenting from the sidelines, being like, VR's been doing this for like 7-8 years now. Come on. Like, this is just just a skybox, blah, blah. So it just kicked off all of this. And I thought it was a funny thing, just to kind of talk about it, show that off and all this.
I do love they have like a dark version. I was kind of expecting it to be by night because it said dark, but it's just like a black background. or they did it like really late at night and you can't see anything. The dark version of Yosemite.
but it's beautiful. It looks absolutely spectacular. The detail that's going to come from nature into these headsets, and I don't know. The thing I always worry about with Apple products is they give you something gorgeous that they worked on for months and they made it perfect, and it comes out, but then that's kind of all you get. There's it's really limited. Like I remember, certain Macs launching and having like 3 pieces of software that you could have. So I don't know. I'm still very much in split camp when it comes to, is Apple Vision Pro kind of a helpful product aside from it being Apple's first play in VR, MR space and helping the world to get over the hump of, yes, VR is here to stay. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts about this scene in particular and where we're headed with Apple Vision Pro? Because that's just around the corner, really.
Yeah, I mean, it looks gorgeous, of course. But yeah, I'm very much with you. Like seeing the use case is going to be something I think that is going to take some time to grow. You're going to have more use case for it if you own an Apple MacBook, if you own an Apple iPhone, if you own an Apple iWatch, whatever it is. If you have a ton of Apple products, then all of those things will be able to integrate directly with that headset. So if you, for example, have, I don't know, just a regular Dell, or you have then you're going to have a much harder time, I think, to even use this thing to its full use. So yeah, I see it as any other Apple product. If you're in that ecosystem, you'll be able to benefit from it. If you're not, you're going to have to go and get into it.
Yeah,
well, like when iPhone launched, right?
It. Like I don't have any other Apple products, but so even though, yes, I love VR, but I don't think I would be able to use this to its fullest extent because it would just be the headset. I mean, I guess if I went out and bought an iPhone and everything else, but you're adding on that cost on top of the headset.
That's how they work,
I know, but
they're gonna. There's one product that you really like, whether that is the iPhone, the iPad, the iWatch, or the this headset. Maybe you really want this, and you buy that one product, and then a year later you need a new phone. It's then like, well, I mean, if I get this phone, it would work perfectly with this headset. Like, if I have now the phone and a headset, it would make perfect sense to get the MacBook, and that's how they bring you into that ecosystem. And you can't get out anymore because
that kind of goes back to the argument I was making earlier. That world that you're describing has changed. The Apple Vision Pro will have the iPhone software library readily available on day. So that means that Steam Link, the application that we were talking about, will be already ready on Apple Vision Pro. TeamViewer, name your poison. All of these applications will be there. I'm a hardcore Linux user, and I love iPhone. Right, so my laptops run Linux. I use iPhone. I think that the realities are that user interface is the new ecosystem. I think as long as you're able to access the applications that you mentioned, like your text messaging, all of that, which are sometimes I know people that use like WhatsApp, right? All of these applications, they're hardware agnostic. That's
why I'm really interested in like the application readiness interface. And they had ARKit and things like that available for a while. I'm really curious what applications will be available, useful on day one with Apple Vision Pro. That's my most interested thing right now. But I don't have an answer for it yet. I think they mentioned the keynote, so there's been some promises made, but I want to see where it goes. I know we heard some rumors that like 400,000 units are now in production, which is great.
I saw 1 million. I saw a
$1 million?
I saw a prediction of 1 million units are going to be sold next year.
I mean, it's easy to make predictions, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just predictions, but I think what Apple Vision Pro is going to probably do, and I think we need to accept that, is that VR, our interpretation of what virtual reality is never going to succeed. It's not going to, but we are going to personally achieve that goal regardless. I think what Apple Vision Pro is going to do, and that's a conversation I have at Enterprise, is monitor replacement. Your really nice fancy monitor is going to be replaced. It just happens to have a computer now attached to it, and anything you do on a computer is going to be the Trojan horse for adoption. I don't think they're going to be talking about moving around, being in virtual spaces. No, they're going to talk about the seamlessness, about having your computer anywhere you go. That's the adoption point.
And with that, let's go to the best monitor replacement possible. to the Las Vegas Sphere.
Yeah.
How would you feel if your desktop was a
Mm,
giant dome that everyone could see
Sitting
in Las
inside.
Vegas?
goals.
So what happened is Meta took over the Sphere. I wondered if they might do this, and they did it with a combo of Ghostbusters and Stranger Things. And initially, I looked at this and went, "Nah, this is going to be shite." And then I looked at the implementation, which is quite spatial, like 3D spatial, like what we saw from I think Resident Evil and like Times Square. And they do a lot of play on this gigantic dome. And first, the Ghostbusters one, you see a giant Puff or whatever he's called, Puff the Magic Dragon, no, Puff the Ghost, explode.
Marshmallow Man.
Marshmallow Man, there you go. And then after that comes the really cool one, which is Stranger Things comes through with this awesome like red lightning and this chasm that's just opening up like this demonic portal. And all I care about this giant annoying dome in Las Vegas is that they put cool stuff on it. So thank you, Meta, for putting some cool stuff on your ad is really
Shame,
what I
though,
wanted to
that,
say
like,
here.
I'm sure that they made this before the Stranger Things delay got announced. So
Yeah.
at this time, it probably would have been out by then. It still looks really cool though. Like I would have loved to see this in person, but now it's like, oh, like do they? Can you can pre-order the game still though, right? It's not one of those things where you can only buy it when it's out. Because that'd be a
You mean
shame otherwise.
Stranger Things? I think you
Yeah.
can pre-order it. I'll check.
So at
It'll
least they
be
could
really
maybe still
cool.
get some sales that way, but it would
Yeah.
have been cool if it was live to play when when this was out.
When it's on sale now, or it would have been cool if they announced a delay on that Sphere, like a giant delayed in white text.
Yeah, you can pre-order it. It's 35 Canadian, so probably I'm gonna guess 28 US or 30 US, something like that. So yeah, you can pre-order Stranger Things if you're interested in it. I look forward to playing that one. I'm a fan of the series, but I was nervous about when I first saw the initial trailer. I was like nervous about it, but it's got that kind of cel-shaded look. I think Rowdy normally makes this point, but giant dome with awesome VFX is not necessarily setting the expectations in the right space for the Stranger Things VR game. But it's
High
fucking badass
expectations.
on its own.
Yeah.
Hey, you show the Ghostbusters one? I feel like the Ghostbusters clip was much cooler than the Stranger Things one.
I don't think so. Yeah.
The giant Huffpuff licking the screen over the. I loved how the tongue just.
But they
twirls
played
around
with
the
it well.
glass.
But yeah, I thought the
Yeah.
Stranger
I
Things
like
one
love
more
was
that.
awesome.
proton
Yeah.
pack stuff or something versus just the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Like I
He's
liked
so
how they used
classic.
it, but
Yeah,
I wanted to see more than just him.
man. But can you imagine just having like a drunk Vegas night and you just see the giant Stay Puff guy just licking this? Oh, dude. I need to move to Vegas. That's where I need to get. I want to live right next to the Sphere.
Yeah, I don't know. So that was the Las Vegas Sphere. The other thing that I wanted to show you, now moving into kind of a little bit of MR space, is someone took out, we've been seeing loads of experiments, devs doing stuff with the pass-through on Quest 3. One of the devs is working on a game, and they were skate testing it. So they were on rollerblades and skating around. And I saw this on Reddit.
Jesus.
I just wanted to show it off because a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, you're gonna hurt yourself and stuff." Like, if it's a difference between, which I think Linus did, driving a car with a Quest headset on and roller skating, choose roller skating, because if you can affect yourself up, that's fine. If you can affect someone else up, that's not okay.
Kind
right?
of cool. This is
It is kind of cool.
Really cool.
I was looking at it and going like, "Damn, I wish I could still roller skate or rollerblade." Like I
would
just
not
bought a
trust
pair, but I
myself.
can't.
Yeah.
I can't anymore. I don't have the
It would
balance.
be cool if you can get like on what are those like scooters and just hold one controller in the gun and just like pedal.
Oh Jesus.
Scooters,
Doing like
go-karts.
the patting your head and your stomach at the same time, kind of a feel.
Yeah, let's do it.
Take an animated virtual tour of a boardwalk somewhere. Like there's loads of cool applications. It's still not the right headset for continued outdoor use by, in an idiot-proof situation because it'll just fry someone will fry the headset by mistake. But it's coming, and that's the part that I'm super excited about. So that's a cool thing. Pat on the back to the dev for that. The next dev pat on the back is issued to someone who's taking your living room 20,000 leagues under the ocean in a title called Prepare to Dive, which I love because it is really just saying prepare to die. And you can flood your living room with water in an age-old submarine, and portholes and cracks in the system, control schemes all pop up in your space, whatever space you choose to convert through mixed reality, and you get to pilot this little ship. It reminds me of a very early VR game that we had, which was wonderful, called it was from Shav, Lunar, help me chat, Lunar something, where you were taking a lunar lander and basically landing it in various places from the moon, like delivering a package from one crater to another crater. And it was incredible. And this kind of reminded me a little bit of that. So, take us
Yeah,
right
I
down under.
love
It's really
this.
neat though, right? Like especially the water that's rising in the cabin as you're in there.
That would make me panic.
It would be cool if you could use like a Logitech controller as the driving mechanism for the
Too
ship.
soon.
Oh my God, Jose, that is terrible. My God. He's
I got what he
referring
was
to
going
that
for.
recent Ocean Gate thing with all the unfortunate rich folk who died underwater. But wouldn't this be
That's
cool
so
for point cloud, where you could do it with your partner or roommate or whatever, work
Yeah,
together?
There's something that makes you feel less stupid when you're both in mixed reality, waving your arms at stuff. Because at least you're in this together. Like, yeah, if someone were on the
Yeah.
outside, they'd be like, "What the fuck? What are these people doing?" But at least you can do it together, so you know what you're looking at in the same on the same walls in the same instance. But yeah, wow, that's so cool. I want to try.
Yeah, I
that.
like this a lot actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there was an open invite. I think they were inviting people. It was the first 100 or so. I managed to get in. I haven't tried it. I'm going to do it on stream soon.
I'm gonna write this down.
But it's called, so again, it's called Prepare to Dive. See if you can locate them on Reddit. They hop you to a Discord and they give you a link to the game. And then you should be able to get hopefully access to it to go and test it out. The other thing I want to do is just highlight another event. We did Varjo's event. So there's an upcoming event from HTC VIVE on November 4th. Recently they announced, and I won't go into much detail on their ultimate tracker, which is a tracker that tracks itself. Yay. VR chat people, I'm sure appreciate that. That's fine. It's a nice community. But this VIVE event is going to announce something. And I don't know what. Will it be software? Will it be finally they launched the Viveverse that they were talking about before? Is it new hardware? I'd love to see something else beyond their uncomfortable XR Elite headset. So I'm curious what HTC Vive have. Now you're closest, I would say, to that, Jose. And provided you're not under a gag order, are you able to muse about? You are. Okay.
I am.
I'll ask
But
the others.
yeah, definitely. Let's
Ask
get
the
me
others.
on.
We'll save your relationship. So,
I love
Adam
you,
and
Alvin.
Rowdy, what do you know? Or not? What's your guess? What's your guess at what is going to get unveiled on I think it's Monday, the 4th of November.
This is separate from the trackers, right?
Yeah, separate from the
Probably.
trackers, HTC Vive event. We get a new headset. We get something for their Mars system, which is cinematic tracking. What do you think is coming?
It's hard to say. I've been so Vive was my first VR headset, so I have so much love for the company, but then disappointment over time as I'm like, who's like I feel like I'm asking who are these for or something they release. It's like you should have also added this with it, like the trackers not really having Steam VR support right away.
Yeah, that
Little
was.
things like that where it's like, oh, this is a really cool thing, but then there's always a weird caveat, and I'm like, oh, it's not what I hoped,
Wanted.
what
Yeah.
most people thought or hoped it would be. So I don't know.
The
I
broken
can't even
dreams? Is that
say.
what you're saying? You're saying broken dreams.
I don't know. I can't imagine. I don't think it'll be another standalone like XR Elite thing. But I
Another
can't
one?
imagine it be a. Well, no, like
Like a
another.
revision, right?
Yeah, like
They've done a lot of
XR
revisions
Elite
of their
Plus.
craft, and that's probably where I would think. So, like what was the Focus? What was the one that was before the XR Elite?
Vive Pro 2. There was a
Their names
revision
are
of the
hard
Vive
to
Pro.
remember.
Not the Pro 2.
Another
Their names
thing.
are terrible.
The
generally.
Flow?
Yeah.
The
The
Flow?
Flow, I think, is the
The flockus.
That's the one. The Flocculus.
The Flow. The Flow, I was quite like, if they could bring us a lightweight headset in as small form factor as possible that focuses on comfort, that does something standalone, even if it's just for watching movies. The HTC Flaw.
Oh man.
Flawed.
Wow. Cosmos was probably the one that I remember not liking, and I remember
I did
getting
not like the Cosmos either. Yep.
to look at like there's certain, and I agree with you. I think they've had more misses than hits, and ever since the first, and I still love it. I still got the box behind me there. There's actually a
Maybe
over there.
I think they do well with peripherals, not necessarily. I mean, they used to do really well with headset, but I think any peripheral stuff, if they focused on that more,
Which
maybe
was the
that
one
would be
that
their
looked like a
jam.
shoe?
It looked like a shoe.
Ooh.
Yeah, like you know those ugly shoes with the holes in it.
This is
Like a
what,
Croc?
you mean the first one?
Crocs.
the
Yeah,
original
they had
OG
one
Vive?
that they had one that looked like a croc. I think like
Maybe that's
All
the
right.
one that I had.
Rowdy, you
but-
guess. I'm not getting much out of Adam. So
Yeah.
I
I'm
I don't
sorry,
know,
I
but
don't
it's
have
something
much
with a
hope.
turntable, you know, like.
that was a beautiful event. I hope their event gives us another meme. I really do.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. No,
If nothing else, they bring us that. They bring us laughs.
I mean, I think their focus has been very much on the trackers, right? So it must. I'm thinking something, you know. I don't know. Like I'm expecting to see a lot of Kinect stuff on the in their announcement. Like you know, like Kinect's. I mean, not literally Kinect, but like Kinect-like stuff. Like that's what I'm expecting. I don't think I'm expecting much more.
I'm
I
guessing
can
it's the Vivers.
probably.
Oh no,
yeah, I can
Jose's gonna
I could
go on.
probably say that.
Ruin yourself.
No, definitely not. I'm careful. I was actually listening to you guys, and I was like, "How can I talk?" Alvin loves the concept of 3D internet. What Omniverse is doing with NVIDIA is very exciting. That there is now a standardization of digital assets that you can. It doesn't matter what program or software you use to create these digital objects. That there's a platform now that you can integrate these easily, and you know, how do you say that? Modify them and create environments regardless of what the file type is, right? It's a universal standardization of 3D objects, and that's probably what's going to become, let's say, maybe like an HTML for 3D worlds, right? I think these companies are now thinking a lot about. I mentioned Meta earlier, but they're thinking about the roads of the internet, right? But like what HTML did, what JavaScript did for web browsers, they're now thinking about that for 3D worlds. So I know I could say that.
Really,
Alvin,
ever since I tried Janus VR 10 years ago, I loved the idea of the internet that turns into something that you can explore.
Yeah.
And the internet that turns into something you can explore and run into other people. I love that idea. Because then it's not interconnected tubes and people in their own feckin' little room where they're like, oh, I adorned it and you're going to come visit me and I'm going to visit you and be sad in our little metaverse. Like, not that, but more like I'm here and you happen to be here, kind of like walk into a fruit market. You walk to a fruit market, you bump into somebody, you meet them, you have a nice chat, and there's that kind of.
You want to do that on the internet? Are you you want to bump into people on Reddit? On 4chan?
I kind of love that actually.
I don't know about that.
Let's see how it goes, Rowdy.
It's inevitable.
I think you have high expectations of humanity in general. Then,
So with that, let's dovetail into My Little Monsters. For those who, like me, are dying for a replacement to BOGO, who's shortly going away by BOGO, you want like a virtual pet or something to look after. Well, there's now kind of a role play pet sim coming from Rec Room in a game called My Little Monsters in their platform, Q1 2024. Not a lot of detail around this at the moment. And so, Rowdy, I shared with you some stats about Rec Room, and scrolling down, there's a whole bunch of their plans that Sean Whiting from the Rec Room team had posted, a bunch of different pieces and pieces, and then they show you the fuzzy lovelies from My Little Monsters. Not a lot of detail on this, but it's enough to get me bloody excited for having a virtual pet.
They're kind of adorable. They look like Pokemon.
Oh, even if they did do the Pokemon thing, but in VR, I don't know if Nintendo ever makes its headset, which someone maybe have leaked at a bar, but may or may not be true. I don't know. But this, we've been needing this. We need virtual pets in VR,
Yes.
but like a good one, not just like you can pet it and then that like maybe you play fetch and then that's it. It needs more interaction and more reason to come back instead of just being a nice
breeding.
little, like...
I'm going to say that.
You know what? Hey, as someone who came from ARC and I did a shit ton of like spreadsheets on like this dinosaur has this stats with this colors. I agree. You could go into hardcore stuff that way.
Monster Rancher.
What a
Have you guys ever
nerd.
played Monster Rancher?
Monster Rancher. Yeah.
I love
mean,
dinosaurs. What could
I love that
say?
you say you came from Ark, and having been in VR in Ark, and you said the word shit ton. Like that's all I saw. There was just dino poo everywhere, and it was huge. Ark is a game that sorely underdelivered in VR, did decently on desktop, was a kind of a cool, could do anything with tons of different dinosaurs game. But yeah, we need a game where you can have a virtual pet, where you can actually like maybe crossbreed different animals or something. I'm not talking as crazy as like Spore or something, but when you bring the DNA side to it and the kind of different combinations and behavioral characteristics and all of that depth, the game can actually have some really cool sides to it. Now, someone just said Furby. Hey, Woody, old buddy of mine. That is scary. I'm not crossbreeding Furbies because Hell Demon spawns after that. That's how you get to Doom. You know Doom and the Eye of the Beholder, whatever he's shooting all the time. That's because two Furbies did something that they shouldn't
Makes
have done.
sense.
Some mandolin genetics.
I feel like I feel like there has to be an emotional connection to virtual pets. I think that's always been the thing for me. Like I don't mention it best. Like I think like the breeding part's kind of cool, but I feel like I want to like that emotion is like, oh yeah, I breeded these two creatures and now I have my own dinosaur. Like that I only have like two references of digital pets that I love. Like one was Tamagotchi Digimon, and two Monster Rancher. I don't know if you guys ever did that game for PlayStation where it was it was a ranch where you train monsters, but the monsters are created by putting random CDs. It could be any music CD, and you put it into the PlayStation.
What?
And it would read the serial number off the CD, and it will auto-generate a random monster based on that.
That's so sweet.
It is.
When I was little.
Oh, it is one of the, and that's how you connect it. Like if you ended up have like your favorite CD back in the day, you put on your PlayStation, you get a monster from that. That's yeah.
See the idea that, and this is where Audio Surf. I loved. Sorry, am I thinking the right name? Yeah, Audio Surf, not Audio Shield, the later game. Dylan Fitcherer came up with a game where it would procedurally map a roller coaster for you to go ride in this game based on the music track. Then you could ride the music track. Let's say I ride my favorite Tool song. I don't have a favorite, of course. And then Rowdy could ride the same thing. And it would be the same track. But based upon the characteristics of the music, it would define, like if it was a really violent song, then it would be super aggressive. There'd be corkscrews, all kinds of crazy stuff. That, in a pet world, I'd never even contemplated until now. So you have blown my mind out the side of my head at the moment, Jose. Is that in more modern versions of Monster Rancher? Because I've seen modern versions, but
yes,
I can't imagine they're still doing CD stuff. So
they're doing
MP3s
now. They're doing MP3 files now.
Fuck, that's so cool.
Yeah, oh man, I remember I just saw Onikaze mention that he has a chaos on his VMU. That's exactly, that's how you build a connection. I feel like you can do that with VR, like scanning up. They have tried multiple, there's some apps that are trying to do that where you scan an object, it turns it into a creature. Yeah. There was also one.
I think it wants that. Didn't the Switch have something like that? What was it called? I don't remember, but they had these figures you would buy, and then you could bring the figures into your game. Like that's genius. But I think the figures they had weren't attractive or like characters nobody cared about. But if I can't say too much, but if you do like pets, there's a game that rhymes with Marriage Munchmine too. That does a really good job with a certain dog, and I have never seen as great dog interactions in a game like this one. So just, if you know of a game that rhymes with that potentially that might be coming out soon and you're looking for a really great pet experience, surprisingly fantastic. So I can't wait for
what does it rhyme with again?
Marriage Munchmine. Classic game, guys.
I think Adam's having an aneurysm. All right. On that note, I want to get us on the PlayStation 5 and PSVR 2 hype train, because I don't know who out there has been throwing shade at PlayStation. They have, in my opinion, been doing a fantastic job this year on PSVR 2. Still my favorite headset. And they're showing us that there's content that they're bringing. They've got the A game to bring to the table. More Resident Evil Remake VR. The mode is coming out soon. I'm an idiot because I didn't pick it up in a sale. There was a sale on the game for like, I don't know, a third of the cost or something. And now it's back to like 80 Canadian dollars.
So on purpose.
So silly. They did it with RE4 as well, so people could get in early, and then they tack on the VR mode. I didn't know if it was going to be a standalone title or what, so I didn't buy it. That was stupid. Anyway, I hope you did buy it. And if not, guess what? There's going to be a demo. They're learning. There's going to be a demo available on day one, playable in VR. That is so smart. So you can go in, get fish hooked, and then buy the thing for the full price. It looks absolutely phenomenal. The game looks like it's got stunning enemies in it. I've never played Resident Evil 4. I know some of you have. So I've played 5. I've played 7. I've played 8. I think that's it for me. I think that's all I've done. But yeah, to be able to go do that in VR with the kind of modern graphics that they're showing, best looking Resident Evil VR game yet, it looks like. And coming on PSVR 2, hot damn, if you sold your PlayStation, man, go buy it again. So what are we in for? For those of you who have played RE4 before, what's it like?
For this one, because I didn't finish RE7 on the PlayStation because I'd already played it on the flat screen, so it was like I already know what's going to happen. But I never actually played the remake for this one, so I was like, oh, I can finally go in new, like my first time for this particular game in VR. So I can't wait. I get to experience new stuff because it's not like I did like being able to see stuff in VR, but once you went through the game and you know some puzzles that you're not gonna like, or some encounters that you know you're gonna dread later, it kind of discouraged me from wanting to complete the game in VR after doing it in flat. It's cool.
Looks right up Jose's alley. This kind of thing.
Absolutely. But funny enough, I haven't played the Resident Evil 4 remake, but I was weirdly obsessed with the original one on the GameCube. I loved RE4. I probably finished it like 4 times. So I haven't thought about playing the remake because my sensitivities have changed quite a bit as I got older. But I definitely want to try it in VR.
I believe in you. You can do it.
Yeah, I think I can do it too. I'll have lights on, and I'll have like a comforting blanket over me or something.
Lights on in that blackout headset. You're gonna be.
Yeah. I'll lie to myself a little bit.
I don't remember, Rowdy. Did you play did you play the original Resident Evil? So like Resident Evil 7 when it was on PSVR 1? I don't remember.
Yeah, I played that one.
Yeah. Okay.
So looking at this, is
this exciting, or is this?
I mean,
terrifying,
again, I'm not really into the horror genre, especially not in VR. I think it's a bit too intense. But I'm good with horror movies. I find them funny, but in games, I don't know. Like after a long day at work, I often want to relax instead of stress out about like, if I see like a dark cellar where like I know a monster is in, then I'm like, yeah, I'm just not going in there. I'll close the door. Thank you.
I don't need to be here.
That's funny. The game won't progress unless I go in this cellar. I've chosen another.
I guess I live here now.
Settle in.
It's kind of a boring stream then. Yeah.
So we had this, which is great. Nice little appetizer and something to play very shortly. And now we got a teaser. So Sony dropped. Remember last time I was talking about live action trailers from Meta being super cool? And we had that debate around someone shaking their maracas and that being cool, and anime girls that were half topless. Well, the live action trailer from Sony they just dropped is really sick. It's got a kind of like a mystery space game that's teased at the start. Then it goes to kind of this fiery surrounding, and then it flips over to Horizon. Not Meta's Horizon, Adam, before you get yourself confused. This is like the world of Horizon Zero Dawn, the good one. Yeah. With Aloy. And, but it's like, so they're showing off some content that they've already done. But the question is, what's that space game? And some people are musing that it's like a little nod towards like No Man's Sky. I don't think so. The HUD doesn't look at all like No Man's Sky. Like it, and some people were saying, "Oh, it's
the second one is
coming
Resident Evil, right? The second one, the fiery one." Yeah. So and that also, I mean, yeah, okay, maybe it looks a little bit, but yeah, I can see why people think I can
you
see
run it
why
one more time?
people. I can see why people think it's No Man's Sky.
Yeah, but
You
I
don't
mean,
interact
thus
with the HUD that much in your shipper at all, really.
yeah, to
Um,
me, it's closer. See, there's some gunfire going from ship to ship, right?
This
And then,
trailer came out before the Resident Evil VR remake announcement, right? So
yes,
maybe they
Yeah.
still have one more to make, and it's this. Like I feel like it's a. I want to hope it's a new title, not like a, like a Horizon one that we already know. It has
that's what
to be.
that's what I think. I think it's a new title. I think it's going to lead into the holidays or be a thing that next year we're all getting
Yeah.
excited about, which is why they put it first. I would love. I don't think it is. I would love if it was Returnal for VR, PSVR 2.
That would be
my number one.
incredible.
But whatever it is, the other option is something like Farpoint 2. If we had Farpoint, man, that's another one.
Is Farpoint the one that you're in space and then you run you're stuck in a breaking down space shuttle?
So you've basically crash landed, and there's a lot of alien bugs.
Okay, that's not
and
the
with
one
the
I'm
aim
thinking about.
controller.
And with the aim controller, it launched with the aim controller. It was it had co-op experiences as well, and it was phenomenal. It was kind of like
Yeah.
Serious Sam, but
I
in
remember
VR
this,
with
okay.
a serious story, well written. And man, Farpoint was like the game. Before
That
Firewall launched, it was just
It
the
was
best.
good as well.
the reason I was asking is because that HUD, and this is really early, and Zim and you guys might remember this. It was a very early Oculus publisher game that you're stuck in a space station that is breaking down. It came around during the time that Ruby Gravity.
Lost Echo.
Was it Lost Echo?
Yeah, the original Lost Echo. You're in like a busted
No.
up space station before you met Amanda, isn't that?
No, it was a different one. I think it was like an Xbox guy who got fired and went over to VR.
Oh, unless shoot, what was the busted space station where you're roaming around? There's lots of plants.
Yes.
Feck, my stream hated me to play that one because it was
Someone said
incredibly
Adrift?
slow.
It was
Adrift.
incredibly slow.
Adrift. Adrift.
The color and the lighting reminded me of Adrift. So I maybe it's an Adrift remaster. I haven't seen those guys do anything yet.
It's so naughty. Adrift was great. If they bring Adrift back,
yeah,
my audience is gonna be like, you guys go feck yourselves. I'll have to play it again. But that game was so slow, and I'm not gonna spoil the story. But the story wasn't. How do I say it? Wasn't nice either. Like.
Nope.
You don't come away feeling good. I'll just say that much.
Yeah.
Like, don't go into it. It's not a happy. So, and there's other games like that. Necrosis is another one where you're underwater as a pilot. And again, it's another game that when you finish, you're like, oh shit. Like the story's good, but you come away feeling terrible. Yeah. So, if you're into that and you haven't worked hard like Rowdy, and you're fine with feeling terrible, then do that. All right, on to our last little sprint here. Something I wanted to talk about for just bracing us for next year was a comment on Twitter. We're going into the Twitter sphere now, or X, if you must call it that. Someone named Veronica Sims online made a comment about 2024. I don't have the verbatim in front of me, but maybe Rowdy, you can read it out. The idea mainly is, though, I want all of us listening to get ready for next year, right? Why? Because Apple Vision Pro is coming, and it means a wave of assholes is about to know a lot more of VR than we know. So that crowd is coming our way. Just have a happy Christmas, and like we're gonna have to live that year next year. Rowdy, can you just call it out?
Yeah, so it's Veronica Sims saying there's a lot of VR experts with quotes who don't use VR, and that really shows. It's one thing to understand the tech that goes into a headset. It's a completely different thing to understand how people use those headsets.
Thank you.
You know what? I don't know. Maybe this will help any guys in the audience. This is exactly how mansplaining feels. But from a
wait, let me explain to you. No.
More relatable to you guys. Like if someone tries to explain their oh, I just heard of this thing called the Quest 3. Did you know that you could do that? But selling it to you guys who are in the ecosystem, it's like I don't know.
We need a good word then. Chat needs to come up with a good word for
VRsplaining
fused with VR. Yeah,
Explaining,
exactly.
I don't know.
It's a good analogy though, Adam. Thanks.
Yeah.
rings true, you know?
It's so accurate.
Like, this is just part of my life. I don't know.
you get double the brunt of that then.
I love that. I happen to be living with this stuff, so hey.
All right. Well, with that, let's talk about another fun one on Twitter. Love these. Big heart out to Ben Lang from Road to VR because he stirred up some shit this week with his dock issues and how he decided to dramatize this for the internet. So some of you may have seen this already. So there's a Quest 3 Pro dock, which is Quest 3 dock. Let me correct myself there. That holds the controllers out, like ready to grab, has the headset. But he's got some problems, and he was trying to show this off, that the connector pins, it has a kind of like a little roll hook. You put the headset down, it's got pogo pins, and it kind of connects, and then it charges the headset, makes a little ding to let you know it's connected. But he goes to grab it, because the controllers are left and right, so you can't just grab the headset like you would scoop it up, because the controllers are in the way, so he grabs it from the top. What happens? Well, the thing spills out all over the desk, controllers flop all over the place. And I can tell you that that's definitely an experience that I have on a regular basis.
Old infomercials, we were like, "Whoa!"
I'm falling. I can't
falling
get
out of the
up.
cabinet. Yeah. Does this ever happen to you? It's just
Yeah.
if be black and white, it'd be perfect.
Towels?
Yeah, that's a very good comparison. So one of the things that I came across this week, and I was really funny. I love seeing the internet light up on an issue, and they were just coming for his throat, and people were calling him names, and and some people were supportive, and I'm like, he's just showing kind of a fair point in a bit of a dramatic way, and I thought it was hilarious.
Let's be nice. I love Ben. I love you, Ben. But nah, bro, you deserve every little bit of hate that you got from that. Like
So-
the I'm falling, I can't get up shtick for the VR industry. If you are working the VR space, we are supposed to be optimists and pushing this industry forward. And I've gotten killed for sharing my opinions on things that I don't like in the VR space. So I feel like I've earned myself a cut to or a scar to talk about that. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
you want those points.
And
How much was this dock again? Wasn't it like several hundred?
120.
Like,
Yeah,
you can go on Amazon and or just charge it into the wall like a normal person.
right.
Just
So the dock is bloody expensive. My expectations based on that price point would be Apple grade quality in terms of integration. And the problem that I had was putting on. Let me grab my headset here just for a second. I'm grabbing it just like he did.
Do you have
My
accessories
dock
for
didn't.
your stuff?
So
No.
see the VR cover that's on the headset, right? It's not very high profile. It's literally, I don't know, a millimeter, maybe more. But with that, maybe it's 2 millimeters. With that protrusion of just that cloth, when it sits in the dock, it's enough that it prevents the charging pins and the dock connector from staying connected. So if I set this down with this, so the only way to fix that is to prop up the back of the headset. Just give it that little bit of adjustment. And so along the lines of what
You should make a dramatization video of that and just drop the headset on it. I'm trying to get it in there.
I should have linked. Someone did that with a toothbrush holder. You know those Oral-B like electric toothbrush
I saw
stands?
that one. Yeah.
And I don't know if Rowdy can find it, but it was fucking
I
hilarious.
love the
Because
internet.
it's someone just doing that on purpose, over the top. Like, oh, I can't put it on the holder. So all I got to say, I have such an open
that made
heart
me
when it
cry.
comes to comedy, and like when people poke fun at each other, especially on the internet. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's the license. When you put your opinion on the internet, be ready to have people, rip you a new one.
Yeah.
And that's what happened here. Right, that's what happened here. So more of this, please. It's super entertaining. Absolutely love it. Holy shit!
Yeah.
What's this kitchen
see?
person? What is this?
That's what I was thinking about. You need to turn his video into that. That's what it is.
It should have been oh man, because somebody.
All
edit
jokes aside,
Ben's video.
maybe unpopular opinion, but I agree with him. If you pay $170 for a device, I think it should be, top grade quality, and you should be able to pick it up any way
absolutely.
that you wanted to, and it should not be doing that. And I mean, of course, you can laugh at it, and it is funny and this and that, but at the same time, I think it is a valid point that he's making. It's like, this is not well designed.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
No, he made a
simply
valid
it.
point. It's
Yeah.
just the dramatization in
That's
that
so
video. Like he knew what he was trying to do. He wanted the
I'm not
sentiments of the
sure.
normies.
I'm
He
not
wanted
sure.
Oh, he did. He is.
I don't think it was a dramatization. I think it just comes off that way in the way it got filmed. And he was trying to document it. And he just is like, okay, this shows it. And it shows the controller spilling off and stuff. But I'll be honest with you, half the time when I pick mine up, the dock does come away. Like you can just, why don't you use some carpet tape or some blue tack or something, keep the thing down. It's not heavy enough to kind of to fight the magnet. Gravity versus magnet
that price,
doesn't.
you shouldn't have to.
How much is
you know?
it actually? 130 cent?
Expensive.
Someone's gonna have to look it up because
It's
All right.
they sent me
$80.
one.
Yeah.
And it's
So I'm
I think it
about
was
to.
I know Canadian. I think it was
that there's a
180
market.
Canadian.
So you're telling me there's a market somewhere where somebody can just sell like a $20, 10-pound plastic attachment for this thing? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I mean,
Alright.
it's
Alright.
again, it's the
After
Apple
this
concept.
podcast.
It's the Apple concept, right? You know, you can buy a stand for your monitor for like, was it like $1,000 from Apple, or
Yeah.
you buy like
Jesus.
yeah.
Yeah, $700 for the casters
Yeah,
for
the
one of their
casters.
servers, right? For one of the just the wheels.
Stupid, I agree,
anyway.
but yeah.
Yeah, anyway, fun. Okay, two other things that I picked up on Twitter that were worth noting about. We were talking about Apple earlier. So our friends at Resolution Games have Demeo coming both to the Apple Mac and iPad. They previously had this obviously come out in a PC edition, and then there was I think an Android tablet version, if I'm not mistaken. And so now we've got the Apple ecosystem version, which is Apple Mac and iPad. And it's Demeo on a tablet. And I'll say from the PC version, damn, works really, really well. And it just gets more people to play this incredible game. They've got such a great recipe. And again, my ask to Resolution is just like, I get you've got Demeo and that universe and all that, but you can white label, man. You can go total Dungeons and Dragons IP. You can go Neverwinter
hurry up.
Nights. Like, yeah, you can go 20,000. What's it called? Warhammer 20K. Like, you can do all of that stuff. You've got the platform. So once you've got the capabilities and you've opened all those channels, Rhodes, as Jose's been putting it kindly this episode, that can go. Like, make your money, because you can make loads of money. And someone was asking about iPhone support, and they were basically hinting that, yeah, we're working on it. You know, they didn't confirm it, but they kind of said that. So that's cool. So that's Resolution's thing. One other thing from someone who we haven't heard from in a long bloody time, maybe since last year this time, would be Anton Hand behind Horses, Hand Shoe, and
Hand grenades.
Horses?
And shoes.
Great hand grenades.
Horses?
Guns, horses, and hand grenades? Isn't that?
Fuck it. H3VR anyway.
Hand-
Handshakes, horseshoes, and Hell Lemonade. I don't know what we're talking about. That game, the original shooter, before Pavlov and everybody else turned up on the scene, for 7 years, this guy's been putting updates out. He's at 100+ updates. Last year, we saw this great kind of like, it was at the Game Awards unveiling of like, I think at H3VR, and they were talking about it. It was just hilarious. Either that or it was at the Upload Showcase. I can't remember which one. But it was
hot
funny.
dogs, by the way. It's, just so you know.
Hot dogs,
Horseshoes.
and hand grenades.
There you go.
Not hand shoes.
I wasn't even thinking about hot dogs at all.
What's a hand shoe? I don't even. And they've got something out that I didn't even know. It was highlighting a new feature. So this is called the Institution Update. Again, it's sporting hot dogs as enemies, enemy AI, but it's a mode for the game. It's a special add-on now for the mode called Take and Hold. And I didn't even know this was in there. So if you like run and gun stuff, kind of like an old, like there was a mode in Unreal Tournament where you'd go from point A to point B to point C, and you'd kind of like push people back from place to place. It's a bit like that in that you have an environment where you're running and gunning and you're having to take out enemies. And then you hold certain points and you have enemies coming at you, almost like Horizon Zero Dawn, where the AI is kind of attacking you, and it's very CPU cybernetic in nature. They've got a whole new thing, the Institution now, which is like a new level, a new campaign, I guess you could say, in H3VR. So there was just so much in H3VR that you can do now, but really the the trailer for this, I think, shows it best. It's just got a phenomenal looking, I'll call it like a Half-Life era style science facility. and there's lasers all over the place, and there's these robots that are kind of coming at you, and then there's a hot dog, guards, and you've got a full array of armaments in H3VR to take them down. So if you are into PCVR and you haven't heard of H3VR, absolutely look it up, pick it up, support Anton. Crazy guy, but awesome points of view that he shares on Twitter
Really
all
crazy
the time.
guy. I love Anton's opinions. I respect Anton a lot, actually.
He's great. And I love he hasn't shilled over to standalone yet. He's a PCVR until
Dude,
You
to
know, you
death.
gotta-
That's why I love
Ride or
him.
die.
You gotta respect,
Never die.
that he sticks by his guns, like literally. I
Literally.
love that. Yeah, I love that about him. Like he's like, this is what I want to do, and it's worked really well for him so far.
Yes.
So I mean, it's probably one of the best gun simulators that is out there in virtuality, just in general.
Yeah.
The sound as well is insane. Like the mechanics, like
Wow.
the detailed work, like I you could say like someone should hire this guy, but that's never gonna happen. Like nobody,
No.
he will say
Nobody
no
would
to
be
everyone.
able to work with
Yeah.
Anton. Yeah.
he wouldn't say yes.
He wouldn't say
I don't think
yes.
he would
That's
say
the
yes.
thing.
He wouldn't say yes.
That's the thing.
He's a lone gunman.
Yeah.
And
Literally, yeah.
And
before-
that's what makes this so great, because I think if you put a person like that in a box that is a company or like tells them what to do, then it won't come out like this.
No, yeah.
So yeah.
And if you're looking at like what people label as OGs from a dev perspective in the VR scene, you don't go back too much further than Anton.
Yeah.
I think it
Oh,
may be Denny and his team at Cloudhead. but
100%.
He was
he
absolutely-
shaped
Yeah.
the entire,
Shaped it.
virtual reality gun scene, and every
Oh,
game that
dude.
came after that uses a gun basically took his template, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the fact that and he used to bring out like new game modes on Halloween and Christmas and
But
stuff
they were
like
like
that.
full games.
They were like full separate games. So it's like a circus of it's like a theme park revolving around guns, grenades, and hot dog people. So if that sounds like it's for you, go explore.
Yeah,
Go explore.
100%.
Okay, with that, I'm gonna wrap us up on the news section. Thanks for staying with us for a long one on something. We got to check in with our buddy Palmer. Recently, he said he had a present for us for Christmas, and he was hinting on some stuff. And so I fed Rowdy a little thing of what I thought it might be.
Going
I thought
from Anton
maybe-
to Palmer. That's kind of funny as well.
What's that?
Going from Anton to Palmer.
Yeah.
It's kind
Yeah, well, the guys have some similarities, eh?
I wouldn't say that.
Look at arms race.
On the virtual guns, let's keep at the pew pews.
So Palmer Lucky, for those who don't know, right, is working on this new venture, Anduril, and they do military equipment. But when he was saying that, we've got something new coming and it's going to be good for defenses, I imagined this guy, the eye-tracked laser man, who's got lasers on his backpack, and where he looks, it lasers. Like, don't interrupt my work, honey, while I'm shooting this
God.
video.
I can
is
already
what I would
imagine
say.
like, so what you say?
So
I
he's
gotta
got
wear these at board meetings.
for the audio listeners, he's wearing a backpack with two lasers that are forward facing that are strong enough to break balloons and light things on fire. And as he moves his eyes around, the lasers follow on little servos and blow shit up. And this looked amazing. And I
It's like a
figured,
predator laser, Like,
Yeah.
that's what it reminds me of.
Exactly, yeah. That's it. Because it pops out like on his shoulder.
I love his enthusiasm more over the fact when he blows up the balloon. He goes like, yeah, like
It
that's
works.
like what other reaction can you have if you freaking fire a laser from your shoulders? Like,
so and I saw this guy and I thought of him wearing an American flag as a cape, or maybe just his full attire.
let's
And
go.
singing the whole song and all that, or maybe the anthem. I don't know, whatever. and I was like, this is definitely what Anduril's been working on. That isn't, but it was fun to think it. So what they have been working on, they call the Roadrunner, and the Roadrunner from Anduril is essentially a microjet. So you've seen drones, and drones are annoying. And drones are dangerous, and we've seen that in the Russian-Ukraine battle, where drones are dropping bombs on people stuck in trenches and blowing tanks up and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's a real threat, right, to any nation's security. drones are a real deal now. They're not just for taking pictures of the naked lady next door. So, this jet is propelled and travels at crazy velocity. And it's not just that. It's got a mobile edition, or the Roadrunner M, which travels out of I want to call it like a porta potty style cabin. And it can just fly up out of this thing. And like a SpaceX rocket, it can come back and return to base. So we can go off, intercept aircraft, subsonic aircraft, or a drone, blow it out of the sky, come back and sit down again, just like a SpaceX rocket.
If it intercepts, it ain't coming back. that's
Doesn't
no. That was a play on the editing.
Oh,
if it kamikazes, it's going to explode.
Okay. I didn't know it was a kamikaze.
I saw that in the video too, where they show it hit another one. They say come back. I was like, I don't think physics will allow that very much. But
I thought it was delivering a payload and then returning. Okay.
No. I don't think. I think it has payload carrying. It has payload carrying capabilities, but not payload shooting capabilities.
Yeah.
Or
can't deliver it.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Dude, I love this thing. The fact
cool.
It's a VTOL jet, right? So it's a vertical takeoff jet. So the fact that they have, let's say, a tiny factory that's building these little guys, eventually there's going to be, or there probably already are, giant, physicists and scientists and machine guys who are going to, 100x that template, and then you're going to see giant jets like being built in the same design. And that's, man.
And I just think about people who, ended up pushing Palmer out of Oculus at the time, right? Oculus and Facebook. And I think you should just go and say sorry right now before this amplifies any further, because 100%. He's building some pretty cool weapons.
Oh, he is coming for revenge, and it's not even funny. Like this guy, like Palmer. Like the thing is that if you want to,
I think he's gonna go kill anybody.
Oh no, not kill, but he's gonna go after his enemies. 100%. Like what a lot of people don't realize is that if you want true power, you gotta play with the military. That you we mentioned. I mentioned it earlier about Microsoft. Is like how can a giant company make billions of dollars over a weekend without FCC or regulators or the government being involved? Like
I have to say though,
definitely
although the technology is amazing, I really don't like this kind of stuff. I really I despise this a little bit. Like I do think technology is great, technological advancement, but and I understand the concept of it's if we don't do it, somebody else will, and we need to be before our enemies, this kind of stuff. But I often find this kind of arms race kind of thing, although it pushes technology forward, I often find where it's being, because ultimately where these things are being or will be used for is to kill people.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's for preventing, attacks. But this is, of course, the stuff they're developing can be deployed in other ways as well. And I just don't working at a company
it gives you a sick feeling, right?
Like that you're building tools that will be used. And of course, I get this thing if somebody else, if we don't do it, somebody else will. I get that, but at the same time, I don't know if it would feel right with me. You know what I mean?
It shouldn't. It shouldn't. This is something I and I hope I don't get in trouble with this, sharing these thoughts. But I think a lot about scalable warfare. One of the things I talk a lot to my friends about this kind of stuff, right? Because they have similar sentiments in this, and quite honestly, so do I. But I also dabble with this technology in this field, because think about when the police, for example, or started being implemented. There were tools that existed back then, right? There were muskets. And we were in a time where people were being stopped by being shot with giant muskets, but stealing a loaf of bread, right? So the governments had to go okay, wait a minute, a musket might not be a good action to take upon somebody who's committing a small level crime, right? So then they created, the beating stick or the police stick, and then that came into handcuffs. Right now, when it comes to, let's say, geopolitical conflict, there's no beating stick. There's no gun for that. It's just straight up rockets and missiles, right? So the scale of geopolitics, there's no gun or
it's also just the distance from, like, you used to send people in and, you know, there was a risk because those people could literally die. And of course that still happens. But if the only consequences for yourself, at least, is I'm going to push a button and then something's going to happen, you know, miles of thousands of miles away, that distance, you know, see it on a computer screen is different from, you know, seeing it in real life, even though reality, the consequences of it are enormous. And like, like
until you realize that you're having that same thought somebody else is having it about you.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's the argument that they're using to do it. We need to beat them to the push. But like, I always like that saying from The Witcher where they say like, there's no such thing as a lesser evil. All evil is equal. Like, and
that's nice.
And I don't really think like, oh, we should do this before we can see, you know, that there's going to be someone doing it. I always find that a very strange argument is we're going to do this so they can't do that, but they're going to do this so they can't do this. And like, it's always a little bit back and forth. So I always like that concept where there's no such thing as a lesser evil. It's just evil, you know, and
That's the Roadrunner.
Which one looks cooler with like anime or Gundam?
I like the black and red one. No, I'm joking.
You know what I mean? Like the Roadrunner looks cool with like, you know, like cyberpunk decals on it. So that's how I agree with you. It's like, which evil looks cooler to be what's like that. That's how I see it. It's like, which evil looks cooler? Is it the evil with the cool mecha Gundam robots, or the one that's like, there? I'm ready.
Well, the thing for me that I like about this is that I hadn't seen an effective response to drone swarms yet. You know, especially one of the things that they tout about this is that it's not one-to-one. You don't have one operator behind one of these things. Someone can do, I don't know, 8 of them or something at the same time in tandem. And so when I think about, again, the Russia-Ukraine war and how that's been working, you know, it's just that same conflict at other borders, other countries, other tragedies, to Rowdy's point here, right? And none of that makes me feel good that this type of thing exists. But like what Jose is saying is that because it's like a gradation scale of what are my options to deploy when conflict is rising, at least now there's this kind of intermediary option which says if you send a drone army towards me, I've got something to potentially counter that in a way that's different than right now. They've got anti-aircraft and AA type countermeasures from the ground to air, you know, but there's not a lot out there that can help us against literally an overwhelming sea of drones coming at you. And that's still something that I know we saw painted in Black Mirror and makes me nervous for the future as to where that goes. And like Rowdy's saying, right? Like, it's an arms race. Everybody is gunning up and getting more and more advanced with this technology. People seem to be backing away from it. And the concern with that then is it comes down to just button pushers. Someone says live or die.
You know. The scary part, not to get it really, make it really dark, but it's inevitable. I think that there's no such thing anymore as being in the technology sector and not being pseudo affiliated with geopolitics. Like they're one in the same, because it's like being in the gas industry and not think that you're not in the war industry. Like your asset is oil, right? So technology, chip manufacturing, AI processing, automation, all of this are the terms of geopolitics now, and they're not. People are trying to find a ethical detachment of it, but it's.
But that's exactly the reason, I think, and I think that the US often lacks in that a little bit. It's like progress before anything. Like that's really the mindset. Well, in Europe,
it is.
That is a little bit more nuanced, I think, or that's at least how I feel it. But I don't think that progression should always be the core thing of like, oh, we need to progress faster. We need to go. And I understand
that's where we disagree.
It's a very American point of view. Yeah. I would say, having lived in both sides.
I don't think it's
and
American.
I also don't like it. It's this kind of aggressive advancement.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily just for science. It's like needing to have the upper hand, even when the other hand hasn't raised up the pole yet. and it generates an unnecessary momentum in a direction that I think wouldn't be there if that didn't exist. And it's on the back of capitalism, honestly. It's someone trying to make a buck. I mean, it's what Palmer's kind of doing that as well. He's like, oh, I'm going to solve this contract thing, but it's also you're making money. You're making
he's
a
raising
company.
funds. Yeah.
This is to make profit in the end. So anyway, I just thought I would check us up on what Palmer's doing with his life.
That's going to make a Gundam that's going to go after Mark and everybody that betrayed him.
Gundam Wing.
He's going to get like a government pardon before he even does anything.
Yeah. So, and I know we're running long, so thanks for bearing with us, including the crew members. Thanks.
I love how Zim, like, 2 days ago said, like, oh, don't worry, I'm sick. It's going to be a short show. And I joked. I joked and said, what, it's only going to be 2 hours now?
I know, and now
Every
we've
time
gone
he
longer
says
than
it,
average.
We know it's going to be longer. You jinx it.
He sent me the links. I was like, that's like 40 links here, Zim. Like.
All right, well, with that, next up is our releases section. Jose pulls out the games you don't want to miss. And in the past is focused on special themes. So I'm curious, what have you been cooking up for us today, Chef?
Oh, man. All right. So the first one, and this one is very similar to as Adam called it, Runshine. It's called Arashi Castle of Sin. The final cut is finally releasing. Arashi Castle of Sin is a well-known VR game. I think they were one of the first games that introduced a dog ally companion
For
a VR game.
Yeah, I think.
For a VR? Well, what about Fallout 4?
But that's not VR.
that's three.
VR.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean so a native? So Arashi Castle of Sin, is this a second one then? Because I've never played.
This is the final cut. So polished up. Is
Oh.
going to be releasing for the first time on all stores as a full product. PCVR, PSVR,
I wanna play
and
this one.
Quest. Yeah,
Compare the
it's
dogs from both games.
Yeah.
It's a VR Shinobi adventure, master of the art stealth action, as you infiltrate castles across feudal Japan with your arsenal of weapons, tools, and techniques, outwitting all enemies on your quest to defeat the 6 Oni of Iga. So that's $29.99 US, 23 pounds. And yeah, so the game was released on PSVR 1 as an exclusive in 2021, actually. Did not, and funny enough, they actually have that in their description. Did not reach a big audience. Re-releasing final cut on all platforms with improved visuals.
It's good. I like it. I like it when a dev studio
Yeah.
can double down on their original work, particularly when it isn't got much fanfare.
Shows
And
you
I'm looking
believe
forward
in
to
the
this one
product.
too.
It looks so good.
We don't
And
get
the
a lot
fact
in
that-
that kind of that Asian styling either.
Yeah.
You don't get a
And
lot
the
of it.
voice sounds so good. The voice acting sounds amazing. And there's a scene near the end of the trailer I see as where they show some enemies and you see like your dog, there it is, squaring up, and he just starts getting ready. And I was like, man, that's a really
try this.
cool. Yeah, that's some cool energy that I haven't seen in VR of like hyping you up into war.
So we're like heading into the year of the dog then, because we got
I'm all for it.
Arashi, Arizona Sunshine. I am too. Like
Hell yeah.
companion pet that can.
We wanted pets.
Absolutely, we wanted pets. We've got them.
And up next, I have Towers and Powers, a VR tower defense game. Towers and Powers sees you saving islands and their residents from falling into the forces of chaos. The reason there's no price listed yet. It is PCVR App Lab, and a Steam demo is already available. I believe they're planning a release in the first week of December. The reason I added this game specifically is that it almost feels like a typical Dungeon Defense clone. I think I talked about one last time, but we're starting to see VR components being brought into this, where people are now building upon it, and you can kind of see a mechanic within the game where the actual environment, there's actually like meteors are falling from the actual sky that you can actually grab. So it's actually making you focus on more of the map, right? So you got these modifiers. You can actually see him like grabbing like a meteor and just throwing it down to his enemies. So it's kind of cool seeing the VRification, and there's also a spell component, right? So when you play these games, Demeo is a good one where you have to like kind of flick the characters toward each other to get them to attack. This one just straight up has you doing like magic wand spells. So if you want to like have your team do like a delta attack, then you do like draw like a triangle in the air. And so that's like the command. So it's just the VRification of these games is super exciting to me.
I remember that Wandy era where we had like 20 games in VR that were all draw this stuff, and then a lot of people
See
got
it
fed up
happen?
with it and it went away.
Yeah.
So is this
I don't
like like a single player one, or is this like Dota style where you have like, you know, or League of Legends or something like that?
I think this is single player. I'm
Okay.
a big fan of tower defense games, and that's Dungeon Defender is one of my favorite games. I can sink hours on that mobile when I'm on a trip. And seeing this in VR and understanding the mechanics of what makes these games fun, but also not just trying to just port it over to VR like some of these games do and adding layers, that just seemed exciting to me.
I'd love to
Yeah.
see an Orcs Must Die in VR,
Yes.
like some kind of co-op, tower defense, but you can switch between third or first
Spectators.
or whatever.
Oh.
Cool.
Let me go even. So, two things I always mention whenever someone puts a tower defense game out there: Kitty Apocalypse is an amazing Steam VR game, and it's so much fun. It's about 15, 16 hours. Classic, like 2017 VR game. Try it; it's fun. The other one is going way back now. Sacrifice is a RTS game that was amazing back in the day. I still think they should bring that to VR. That's what this reminds me of. I really like the art. The only thing I didn't like was I wish there was a way to do it without the health bars. Like I think the health bars showing is just makes it look so unimmersive. And like if you can portray the health in some kind of way, model damage, or it'll be more costly from a dev perspective. But like that's the only thing that's like stopping me from saying this game looks pretty nice.
Yeah. Or have your, it's really funny. I was thinking about that. I'm so weird that you mentioned that. Like, I was thinking about like the hands of the users can be such a great health bar for video games where you can only see your hands. Where I don't know if you remember, like, what's a good example? Wolfenstein, where your character, the more beat up he gets, right? He gets all bruised up. Imagine if your fingers started bleeding, or you start seeing bones, and your hands are just straight up bones if you're at your last health bar or something like that, right?
No, if anyone ever played the old, it's a game it's called Trespasser. It was for the Lost World, and then the character, if you look down, you could see your boobs, and you had a heart tattoo on your boob, and then the more damage you took, that heart tattoo would change to reflect that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah,
That's
That's
less grim,
right, Rowdy? Yeah.
That's way less grim than my idea of having your skin just rotting. As
I was gonna say like nails bending back.
Yeah, dude. I just they make my heart like, oh man, my head's decaying. I'm dying. You know what I mean? Health up, hand comes back to good. But
I like digital twin stuff is horrible, by the way. Anyone who hasn't had done it yet, where like your hands are there and then they start getting destroyed or cut or whatever, that is sick, twisted shit. And I love twisted stuff, but that
I like
too much.
I like Adam's idea with the boobs better.
Yeah, I like that more.
Boob tattoos for everyone.
Boob tattoos for everyone. But yeah, those are the two games I wanted to list. Of course, it's December, so a lot of big games. I'll make some quick mentions. Arizona Sunshine, all platforms, December 7th. Lego Brick Tales on Quest, December 7th. And then we got Vertigo 2 releasing on PSVR 2 on December 12th. And then we got Asgard's Wrath 2 finally hitting Quest Market in December 15th. And of course, VR Desktop. Get VR Desktop. Like it's been out. A lot of people know it. But if you want to do some really high-end PC VR, Steam Link is great. But if you really want to take it to the next level, VR Desktop. Guy, love you, bro. So that's my wrenches for the week.
Awesome, Jose. Fucking awesome. All right, chat. Well, that's another run done. Let us know what you're hoping for this holiday season in chat, and we're going to roll the show times to get you out of here. So, FReality Podcast runs on a fortnightly production loop, unbroken, unbested, underdressed, and here to meet your every need for VR and MR in a lovely fireside chat every other Saturday on YouTube and Twitch. We're live from 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and 6 p.m. in the UK. Note that in your calendar, set an alarm, and be ready to bop your head to the FReality theme song as the intro kicks off. For those on audio only, Spotify, iTunes, and SoundCloud are there right for you. Clean, remastered audio for your listening pleasure. Thank you for earning that Scooby snack. You've been a good audience today. So I'm going to go ahead and check chat here, see if anyone's got anything to say. But as the holidays near and the year ends, look forward to more multiplayer between the crew. We're going to do something. We missed one there over Thanksgiving, but we're going to do one. And an upcoming end of year sum up episode where we'll crown our favorite games of the year in the VR space.
Oh boy.
So with that, I think we're going to jump out of here. We'll see you on the next FReality podcast. Ciao, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.